A storm rages over a castle that looks like a tomb, its spires piercing a sky that offers no mercy. In this place, the air is thick with the scent of wet earth and impending tragedy. Inside, a lone maid walks the silent corridors, the soft click of her heels the only rhythm in a house that feels like it's holding its breath. She carries a single candle, its flame a fragile shield against the oppressive shadows that cling to the stone walls. Every flicker of the wick reveals shapes in the darkness, whispers of movement that shouldn't be there. Suddenly, she stops. A presence looms, colder and sharper than the draft blowing through the hall. The light catches on something bright and singular, reflecting a terror she hasn't yet realized is her own. The flame dances wildly, as if trying to scream, illuminating the edge of a fate she cannot outrun. She stares into the void, her breath hitching as the realization of what stands before her begins to take root. Her eyes widen, reflecting the sudden, violent shift in the room's energy. Something has found her. Panic surges, a primal instinct that tells her this is the end of her story. The darkness roars, a silent sound that vibrates through her very bones as the nightmare takes physical form. Through the haze of terror, a face appears. Beautiful, cold, and splattered with the evidence of a fresh sin. The candle falls, its light pooling around boots stained with the heavy, dark crimson of a life recently snuffed out. A hand reaches down, not to help, but to reclaim the light. The grip is steady, devoid of any human warmth. He looks up, his gaze piercing through the screen and into the soul of anyone watching. This is the face of a monster who knows he's being observed. But wait, this isn't reality. It's a screen, a game, a piece of digital horror that's currently terrifying its player to the core. She recoils, her chair scraping against the floor. This game, notorious for its difficulty and grotesque realism, is living up to its reputation. Why is the killing motion so fluid? Why does the blood look so heavy? It's enough to make even a seasoned gamer feel sick. In the world of The Murderer of Count Paltstraff, death is the only constant. A single mistake leads to a gruesome end. The graphics are praised as masterpieces, but the gameplay is a punishing descent into madness that most players abandon in frustration. She stares at her monitor, wondering why she spent money on this masterpiece of misery. Maybe it's time for a refund, but curiosity is a dangerous thing. She watches the loading bar creep forward, sinking back into the dark allure of the narrative. The title screen looms, a grim promise of the story to come. New game, a choice she's made a dozen times tonight. The lore begins to unfold, speaking of pilgrims lost in a world beneath the cliff, a place where the sun never shines. It tells of Satan, a fallen power who sought dominion over a river of blood and a kingdom of emptiness. It recounts the moment the blade pierced a queen's heart, unleashing a curse that would echo through the ages. Lilith, the queen of dream-eaters, cast her final judgment upon the one who betrayed her. The curse was simple, yet devastating. Satan would be forced to survive while wearing the skin of a weak, fragile human. He would feel every illness, every pang of hunger, and the constant tightening noose of mortality. A god of death would watch his endless cycle of life and suffering, denying him the peace of a natural end. He is condemned to kill and kill again, trapped in a loop of violence that serves only to prolong his agony. The player sighs, exhausted by the sheer weight of the game's tragedy. It's beautiful, yes, but so relentlessly dark. A system notification pings. You have entered the game. A standard message, or so she thinks, The protagonist, Adrian, looks so innocent in his chibi form, yet his dialogue is filled with a cold, demonic boredom. To progress, he must kill. To kill, he must not be caught. It's a delicate dance of murder and stealth. One wrong move, one wandering maid, and it's over. The screen fades to black yet again. She groans, her head spinning from the alcohol and the repetitive failure. This game is a masterpiece of frustration. The atmosphere is too much, the candles too bright against the red roses. It's suffocatingly immersive. She leans in, her eyes reflecting the golden glow of the protagonist's eyes. He is undeniably handsome, even as a killer. There's a strange pull to him, a magnetism that defies the horrific things he does on screen. Perhaps that's the real horror, the way beauty masks a monster so perfectly. It's well past 2 a.m. Her vision blurs, the room around her fading as sleep finally claims her. Her body feels heavy, like it's being submerged in deep, cool water. The transition is seamless, a slow sink into nothingness. She opens her eyes, but the light is different. It's not the glow of a monitor, but the soft morning sun of a world she doesn't recognize. She is sinking, but she isn't drowning. She is falling into a story she only meant to watch. The spires of a grand estate rise into a clear blue sky. Birds chirp, and the air smells of fresh linen and expensive perfume. She wakes up in a bed that isn't hers, her head pounding with a hangover that feels remarkably real. The room is simple, a servant's quarters. This isn't her apartment. This isn't her life. She tries to piece together the night before. Alcohol, the game, the frustration, and then this. A door bangs open, the sound echoing like a gunshot in the quiet room. An older woman stands there, her face set in a permanent scowl. She demands to know why the maid is still in bed. A system window pops up in the air. Letitia, the loyal housekeeper. The realization hits like a physical blow. This isn't a dream. The fear in her chest is too sharp, the cold air on her skin too vivid. Hilda? Me? The name feels wrong in her mouth, a label for a character she was supposed to be controlling. Letitia has no patience for nonsense. There is medicine to be delivered to the young master, and work to be done. The housekeeper's irritation is palpable. In this world, servants who don't follow the roles don't last long. Another window appears. Hilda, level 1. It's a status screen. She's not just in the game, she's a part of the mechanics. She tries to convince herself her mind is just playing tricks, a lingering effect of the booze, but the ding of the system is unmistakable. It's a sound that promises both guidance and a very real threat. She stares at the empty air, her heart hammering against her ribs. If she's Hilda, then she's the one who gets killed first. The system confirms her worst fear. She has entered the game. And this game only has one genre: horror. A young woman enters carrying a pile of clothes. She looks kind, a stark contrast to the stern Letitia. Emily, Hilda's friend, a popular maid known for her skill. She's another piece of the puzzle, a face from the digital world made flesh. The horror of the situation settles in. This isn't a dating sim. There are no handsome men to sweep her off her feet, only a monster waiting to strike. Emily urges her to get ready. The young master is waiting, and his medicine cannot be delayed. The girl looks at her friend, searching for any sign that this is a joke, but Emily's concern is genuine. She touches her forehead, checking for a fever. She decides to deliver the medicine herself, letting her friend rest. Left alone, the player collapses back onto the bed. This is insane. This is impossible. Why a horror game? Of all the worlds to be trapped in, why the one where the protagonist is a serial killer? She closes her eyes, wishing she could just wake up back in her messy apartment. She imagines a different world, a dating simulator filled with flowers and gentle smiles. But the reality is much darker. The castle she saw on the screen is now her home, and its secrets are her problem. Every corner of this place holds a memory of a game over she witnessed from the safety of her desk. She thinks of Adrian, the beautiful boy with the blue eyes and the bloody hands. He is the center of this nightmare. Is he already the monster she knows him to be? Or is there still time to change the script? She picks up her new uniform, a maid's dress, a disguise, a target. System. Maid uniform obtained. The credits roll in her mind, a list of developers who created this hell. But there's no exit button here. The game has begun, and she has to play to survive. In most games, you get a choice. You can be the valiant warrior, the cunning archer, or the powerful mage. But this isn't most games. I'm relegated to the role of Servant 3, a B-rank supporting character whose only real function is to act as a medicine shuttle. It definitely wasn't a choice I made with my own free will. My life is now dictated by code and pixels. I am trapped inside Murderer of the Peltstraff County, a horror-filled nightmare where the setting is beautiful and the stakes are lethal. The castle towers loom over me like a cage. This is the most frustrating game I've ever had the misfortune of playing, mainly because the exit button is broken. I can't leave, no matter how hard I try to shut the system down. Despite the horrific premise, the game mechanics are shockingly detailed. I have levels, experience points, and an avatar I have to maintain. Every morning, the system greets me with a list of mundane daily quests. Pulling weeds, peeling onions. The life of a fantasy maid is far from glamorous. But beneath the chores lies a terrifying truth. My main task is delivering medicine to a sickly young master, who also happens to be a serial killer. I try to distract myself by admiring the scenery. The art team really went all out on these backgrounds, even if they're just part of my prison. But I can't afford to just stare at the sky. If I want to survive this strange world, I have to play along and tackle these quests. First up, manual labor, or as the system calls it, pulling weeds. It's time to get to work. I head out into the gardens with Amelia, another maid who seems blissfully unaware of the horror we're actually in. We spend hours under the sun, clearing the flower beds bit by bit. It's tedious, but it's safe. Each weed pulled grants me a tiny sliver of experience. It's a slow grind, but every point counts when you're trying to level up a support character. I'm becoming surprisingly efficient at this. My hands move almost on autopilot, clearing the dirt with practiced ease. Suddenly, a notification pops up. Something about my condition is changing. Is it a buff or something worse? It's a new title. I am now officially a weed-pulling expert. Not exactly the legendary hero status I was hoping for. Still, a title is a title. In this world, money and stats are the only things that provide even a semblance of security. Driven by my new expertise, I start working even faster. I'm a blur of motion, clearing the flower beds in record time. But in my haste, I make a catastrophic mistake. I pull out a rare white flower by the roots, thinking it was just another weed. The color drains from my face as Letitia, the head maid, appears behind me. Her expression is pure fury. She starts screaming, hitting me with the very plants I just destroyed. Apparently, I didn't just pull a weed, I killed the Count's favorite flowers. The widow's thrill flowers are dead, and my hopes for a peaceful day are buried right alongside them. Letitia isn't finished. She announces to the entire garden that the cost of these flowers will be deducted directly from my daily wages. I can feel the sting of her words more than the hits. I worked so hard for that gold, and now it's vanishing because of a single pixelated error. The other maids start whispering. To them, I'm just a clumsy girl who keeps making trouble. They don't understand the pressure I'm under. Letitia snaps at them to get back to work. No breaks until every single weed is gone. The atmosphere in the garden has turned cold. I listen to them gossip about me, their voices filled with judgmental pity. It's hard to remember they aren't real people. I stare at them, a hollow feeling growing in my chest. I'm the only one here with a soul, yet I'm the one being treated like a broken tool. They're all just data, strings of code and pieces of memory. Yet they have the power to make my life an absolute hell. Amelia approaches me cautiously. She looks worried, but I can't tell if it's genuine or just a programmed response to my distress. I apologize to her for getting her in trouble, too. In a world this cruel, even small kindnesses feel like they carry a heavy price. She turns away, her expression unreadable. This game doesn't just test your survival skills, it tests your sanity. But then, she smiles. A bright, cheerful expression that feels almost out of place in this dark setting. She tells me we should just finish up. I force a smile back. I have to keep my head down and keep playing. That's the only way to find a way out. Work finally ends. We carry our baskets of weeds back to the manor, our shadows lengthening as the sun begins to set. The castle looks even more ominous in the orange glow of twilight. The daytime chores are over, but the real horror is about to begin. Back in my room, I collapse onto the bed. I open the system window to check my earnings for the day, hoping for some good news. A notification pings. My daily wages have been deposited, plus 30 gold. It's a pittance, but it's mine. I check my total balance. 330 gold. It's not much, but I've been saving every coin I could find. Then, a red warning box flashes. A heavy loss has been incurred for destroying the garden. Minus 250 gold. I stare in shock as my balance plummets. Almost all my savings gone in an instant because of some stupid flowers. I feel like I'm in a trashy simulation. What kind of world punishes a support character this severely for a simple mistake? I sigh, watching the system window float in the air. It's mocking me. My hard work has been completely erased by a single line of code. Something inside me snaps. I'm tired of being pushed around by a broken game and a world that wants me dead. I start punching the air, screaming at the invisible system. I demand to be sent back to my real life. I'm done with this pause game. My fist connects with the floating exit button. I don't care if it's glitched. I'm going to smash my way out of here if I have to. I hit it again and again, pouring all my frustration into every strike. "Send me back!" I scream into the empty room. Suddenly, the screen flickers, the exit button glows, and for a split second, I think it actually worked. But instead of my bedroom, a loading screen appears. My stomach drops. What did I just do? An exclamation mark flashes. The system is reacting to my input, but not in the way I hoped. Panic starts to set in. I realize I might have accidentally triggered a new game or a total reset. I drop to my knees, begging the system to stop. I clasp my hands together in a desperate prayer. If the game resets, I'll lose everything. I'll be back at level 1 with no knowledge of what's coming. Tears prick at my eyes. I was so angry I didn't think. Please, world's strongest legend, godly master, don't let it reset. The loading screen persists. I feel like a fool. I let my emotions get the better of me, and now I might have doomed myself. The screen finally clears. I check my stats, my breath hitching in my throat. The good news is, my gold is back. The system glitched in my favor. I quickly straighten my apron, trying to calm my racing heart. I'm still Hilda. I'm still a maid, and I'm still in this nightmare. A voice calls out from the hallway, asking if I'm ready. It's time for the one task I dread more than anything else. I look at myself in the mirror. I have to stay focused. One mistake during the medicine delivery won't just cost me gold, it'll cost me my life. The internal system still seems a bit buggy after my outburst. I just hope my luck holds out for the next few minutes. I'm late. Letitia catches me in the hall and gives me a sharp slap. She warns me about a knife-wielding person seen outside, adding to the tension. She reminds me that I even tried to pawn this task off on Katerina a few days ago, but Adrian personally ordered me to do it. I have no choice. I grab the tray with the medicine and the meal, my hands shaking as I head toward the master's wing. The hallways are dark and silent, lit only by a few flickering lamps. Every shadow looks like a monster waiting to pounce. The floorboards creak under my boots. In a horror game, silence is never a good sign. It's the calm before the kill. I move slowly, trying to keep the tray steady. Every step feels like I'm walking deeper into a predator's den. My plan is simple. Leave the tray outside his door and run. I've done it before, and I'll do it again tonight. I can't believe I have to risk my life just to deliver soup and medicine, but that's the rule of this strange world. I reach the door to Adrian's quarters. It's heavy and dark, a barrier between me and the monster inside. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. If I can just get through this, I can go back to my room and hide under the covers. I carefully lower the tray to the floor. The clink of the glass sounds like a gunshot in the oppressive silence of the hallway. I'm about to turn and bolt when I hear a sound from inside. A slow, rhythmic thud. Footsteps. I freeze. My heart is pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat. He's coming to the door. A shadow falls across the floorboards. Someone is standing right on the other side of that wood, watching me. I try to back away, but my legs feel like lead. I'm staring at the tray, wishing I had never come here. Sweat beads on my forehead. The air feels heavy, thick with the scent of old dust and something metallic, something like blood. The door handle turns, slowly, deliberately. The sound of the latch clicking open is the most terrifying thing I've ever heard. A pair of black boots steps into the hallway, polished, expensive, and utterly terrifying. He's here. I look up, my gaze traveling from the floor to the figure standing before me, the serial killer protagonist of this nightmare. My breath hitches. I try to find my voice, to say anything to keep myself alive, but nothing comes out. I'm staring into the face of a murderer, and he's looking right back at me with eyes that see everything. "Did you call me?" he asks. His eyes glow with an eerie blue light, and I realize that my survival just got a lot more complicated. I'm trapped, paralyzed on the floor while the most dangerous man in this mansion towers over me. In this world, the social hierarchy is a weapon, and he holds all the power. Those blue eyes, they aren't looking at a maid, they're looking at prey. He's the protagonist of this horror game, which means he's the one who writes the rules of my survival. I can feel my own pulse thundering in my ears. He hasn't moved, hasn't said a word, but the pressure of his gaze is enough to make me want to scream. The tray clatters, ceramic shattering against the wood like a warning bell. I can't stop my voice from trembling as I scramble to apologize, desperate to keep my eyes on the floor. Pieces of the tea set are scattered everywhere. It's a mess, a distraction, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm currently at the mercy of a serial killer. I keep my head low, pleading for forgiveness. In a world where a maid's life is worth less than the cup I just broke, any mistake can be fatal. I tell him I'll clean it up immediately. My hands are shaking so hard I'm worried I'll just cut myself on the shards. But I have to keep moving. My mind is racing. Adrian is supposed to be the hero, but I know the truth hidden behind his beautiful face. He's the monster I have to survive. I'm completely alone in this dark hallway with him. Not a single soul is around to hear me if things go wrong. It's the perfect setting for a tragedy. He's watching me with those unnerving eyes. It's like he can see right through my fear, deep into the secrets I'm trying so hard to hide. Every second of silence feels like a minute. I could really wind up dead right here, and the game would just keep on going without me. Since it's just the two of us, he could do whatever he wants. If he decides to kill me now, there's no one to stop him, and no way for me to fight back. How do I get away? I need an exit strategy, a lie, anything to break the suffocating tension and get back to the safety of the kitchens. Should I just turn around and run? The thought crosses my mind, but my legs feel like lead, anchored to the floor by pure terror. But if I'm caught, then what? I know what he's capable of. I've seen the way he deals with those who get in his way. I've seen him kill before. It's always in a flash, a sudden burst of violence that leaves no room for escape. Running would only make the hunt more entertaining for him. He kneels beside me, his hand reaching out with a terrifying gentleness. When he touches my shoulder, every instinct I have screams for me to bolt. He calls my name softly, his voice smooth and calm. It's the ultimate role reversal. The monster is acting like a concerned master to his clumsy servant. I flinch at the contact, my body reacting before my mind can stop it. He has to notice how much I'm trembling. He asks if I was surprised because he appeared so suddenly. He's playing the part of the considerate gentleman, but I know it's just a mask. He offers an apology, his face lit with a gentle smile that doesn't reach his eyes. It's a calculated kindness, designed to lower my guard. I stare back, my eyes wide with a fear I can't hide. He's so good at this act that it's almost believable, which makes him even more dangerous. I try to stammer out a response, telling him it's all right. I just need to keep the conversation short and get out of here. He continues to act sorry for surprising me. He's leaning in, his presence taking up all the space in the hallway, making it impossible to breathe. He mentions that I've been acting strange lately. He's noticed. He knows I've been avoiding him, and that realization sends a new wave of panic through me. He looks almost hurt, like a lonely boy who's been rejected by his only friend. It's a masterful performance, a trap built of soft words and sad glances. He brings up the fact that I've only been leaving his medicine outside his door instead of bringing it to him. He's calling me out on my avoidance. He wonders aloud if he did something wrong. He's putting the burden of the awkwardness on me, forcing me to explain myself. Or, he says, if there's something I'm hiding from him. My heart stops. That's the real question, the one that could end my life if I answer it wrong. He stares at me, waiting for an answer. The silence is a physical weight, pressing down on me until I'm about to break. Every word he says just sounds so creepy to me. I know the truth behind the mask, and his gentle tone feels like a blade pressed against my throat. I'm trapped in the shadow of his expectations. He wants to know why I'm avoiding him, and I have to find a lie that he'll accept. He brings up the medicine again, questioning why I wouldn't just come in. He's circling the truth, and I'm running out of room to maneuver. I can't look him in the eye. I have to think of something, some excuse that fits the world rules and explains my behavior without revealing my fear. I have to lie. My life depends on this performance. I need to convince him that I'm just a diligent, if slightly eccentric, maid. I tell him I'm doing it for his sake. I have to make him believe that my strange actions are actually a sign of my devotion. I claim that as I've gotten older, I've realized I can't sleep in the morning. It's a ridiculous lie, but it's the best I can do under pressure. I tell him I had a thought, that if I wake up earlier and finish my duties quickly, I'll be able to fall asleep earlier too. I'm babbling now. I keep going, saying that if I live like that, it won't impact my work. I'm trying to sound like a maid who suddenly found a new sense of purpose. I emphasize that bringing his medicine is the most important part of my day. I'm laying it on thick, hoping the flattery will distract him from the holes in my story. I tell him I was worried I couldn't wake him up due to my lowly sleeping habits. I'm debasing myself, playing the part of the humble servant perfectly. He listens with a half smile, his eyes unreadable. I can't tell if he's buying it or if he's just amused by how hard I'm trying to lie to him. He seems to accept the explanation, but the way he looks at me doesn't change. The predatory edge is still there, lurking just beneath the surface of his politeness. I'd try to make my escape, telling him I'll go get more medicine since this batch is on the floor. I just need to get away from him. I start to back away, my movements quick and desperate. The hallway feels endless, a gauntlet I have to run before I'm safe. Step by step, I put distance between us. My boots click against the floor, the only sound in the oppressive silence of the mansion. He picks up a single pill from the floor. His fingers are long and elegant, the fingers of a pianist or a killer. It's a small, deliberate movement. He looks at the pill, then at me. There's a strange light in his eyes, a flicker of something that wasn't there before. He puts the pill in his mouth. He's actually taking it, even though it was on the floor. It's a bizarre, unsettling act that catches me off guard. He swallows it and asks if it's fine now. He sounds almost playful, like he's enjoying the confusion he's causing me. I'm stunned. I didn't expect him to actually do that. He's completely unpredictable, which makes surviving him almost impossible. He asks if I'm going to keep him hanging like this. He wants me to follow him, to stay in his presence a little longer. I have no choice but to follow him into his room. It's a place of quiet luxury, filled with the scent of old books and something colder. The shelves are lined with volumes that probably hold more secrets than the rest of the mansion combined. It's a room that feels lived in, yet strangely empty. His bed is neatly made, a stark contrast to the chaos I feel inside. Everything here is orderly, controlled, just like him. He stands by the window, his hand resting on the frame. He looks out at the grounds, his profile sharp against the light. He says the room is packed, but it has a lonesome sense to it. He's playing the tragic hero again, trying to draw me into his world. He claims he wants to chat, but now that we're here, he's not saying much. He's testing me, seeing how I'll react to the silence. I flash back to the real Adrian, the one covered in blood, eyes glowing with the thrill of the kill. That's the man standing in front of me right now. The image of him with a knife, his face splattered with red, is burned into my mind. I can't look at his gentle smile without seeing the monster underneath. I have to stay focused. I can't let my fear show. If I want to live, I have to be the perfect maid, the one who doesn't notice anything wrong. I try to regain control of the situation, asking if he has anything scheduled for today. It's a normal, mundane question, a desperate attempt at normalcy. He turns to me, his expression softening. He mentions a guardian who came by this morning. He's sharing information, acting like we're confidants. His gaze lingers on me, his blue eyes searching mine. I can feel the weight of his attention, a heavy pressure that makes it hard to think. I have to get out of here. My priority is to survive, and that means putting as much distance between us as possible. I tell myself to act naturally. If I can just make it through this conversation without slipping up, I might live to see tomorrow. I suggest that he must be tired and should change his clothes and turn in early. I'm trying to provide him with an excuse to dismiss me. I add that Mrs. Letitia has been worried about him. I'm using the head maid's name to add weight to my suggestion, making it sound like a shared concern. He looks at me for a long moment, then smiles. He agrees, saying he should probably rest if that's what I want. He calls my name again. Every time he says it, it feels like a reminder of who I am in this world. A servant, a tool, a victim. I offered to help him change, a standard duty for a maid, but one I'm dreading. I just want to leave this room and never come back. He tells me I don't have to go that far. He's letting me off the hook. But there is a catch. There's always a catch with him. Instead, Hilda, he says, the way he trails off makes my skin crawl. He's about to ask for something else, something I might not be able to provide. I wait, my heart pounding against my ribs. I'm on the edge of a precipice, and one wrong word from him could push me over. Before you leave, he begins, I can feel the tension in the room ratcheting up, a physical force that's almost unbearable. His hand moves, reaching for something in the shadows. My eyes are fixed on him, tracking every motion with the desperation of a cornered animal. He asks me to close the curtains. It's a simple request, yet in this dark room it feels like he's sealing us away from the rest of the world. He says it's a bit too bright. He's creating a sanctuary of shadows, a place where the rules of the outside world don't apply. I do as I'm told, my hands shaking as I pull the heavy fabric shut. The room plunges into near darkness, the only light coming from the flickering candles. He reminds me that I have to bring his medicine tomorrow as well. He's making sure I know that I can't escape him, not even for a day. He settles into bed, looking like the picture of innocence. But I know better. I know the darkness that lives inside him, the hunger that never sleeps. I reach for the doorknob, my hand trembling. I'm so close to freedom, yet I feel like I'm still being watched, even through the wood. He adds one final condition. If you're really doing it for my sake. He's making my survival dependent on my loyalty to him. I turn to look at him one last time. His face is half hidden in the shadows, but those blue eyes are as bright and cold as stars. Don't let me down. It's a direct threat, a warning that he's watching me. If I fail to play my part, if I slip up even once, I'm dead. I finally make it out of the room, leaning against the cold stone of the hallway. I survived. For now. But the game is just beginning, and the stakes are only going to get higher. A notification pings in my mind. I've completed my first real conversation with Adrian, and the experience points flood in. It's a grim reminder that this is all just a game to the world I'm in. But there's a silver lining. I've unlocked a new skill, perception. Maybe now I'll have a better chance of seeing the traps before they spring. In this mansion of horrors, every advantage counts. The shadows in this mansion feel heavier today, as if the portraits themselves are holding their breath, waiting for the next tragedy to strike. In a house where the walls are stained with secrets, even the most beautiful art feels like a warning of what's to come. Adrian sits at the center of this darkness, a quiet monster surrounded by melting wax and flickering flames. Those eyes are a deep, freezing blue. They don't just see you, they calculate how long it will take for your heart to stop. I have to blink just to make sure I'm still in the same reality. One moment it's a horror game, and the next, it feels like I've been dropped into a twisted parody of a high school drama. The social hierarchies are just as deadly as the monsters. We have the classic archetypes, the alpha leader keeping everyone on a leash, and the school prince who uses his looks to hide a dark streak. And then there's me, the confused transfer student just trying to survive until the end of the semester. Did this horror game really just turn into a teen movie? If only the consequences were as shallow as a bad grade. Back in the real world, the tension among the staff is reaching a breaking point. Jealousy is a dangerous thing when the master of the house is a killer. I try to keep my head down, but being singled out by Adrian has made me a target for more than just his blades. The other maids aren't letting me go that easily. Hands reach out to stop me, demanding answers I don't want to give. Dolores claims she's worried, but her grip says otherwise. She hates that an orphan like me is getting special treatment. The whispers start immediately. In this house, reputation is the only shield we have, and mine is being torn to shreds. They laugh behind their hands, convinced I'm using some low-born trick to gain Adrian's favor. I take a deep breath. If I can't beat them with logic, I'll have to use the one thing everyone in this mansion understands: superstition. I need to pivot. If I play the role of the incompetent, maybe they'll stop seeing me as a threat. Dolores looks stunned. She wasn't expecting me to agree with her about my own lack of skill. But I'm not just insulting myself. I'm setting the stage for a much bigger lie. If we're all useless, then none of us are special. It's a desperate attempt to level the playing field. They don't understand what I'm doing yet, but they're listening. That's the first step to control. I put on my best mystical face and declare that an evil spirit is haunting the estate. It's the perfect cover for Adrian's behavior. I explain that the mistress's anger isn't just personality, it's the spirit's influence. It sounds ridiculous, but in a place this dark, people want something to blame. Even the small things, like Katerina's constant tears in the kitchen, are suddenly part of my grand spiritual narrative. The more I talk, the more the atmosphere shifts. The skepticism turns into a collective, uneasy fear. I have to stop them from overthinking it. A well-placed revelation should keep them occupied for a while. I lean into the act, pretending to receive a message from the temple. It's a gamble, but I've got to play the cards I was dealt. I predict something specific, a sign that will prove the spirit is active today. I catch a movement out of the corner of my eye. The timing couldn't be more perfect. I shout out the warning just as a heavy pot begins to tilt. It's pure luck, but to them, it's divine intervention. The silence that follows is absolute. They're actually believing me. Even Dolores looks like she's seen a ghost. The power dynamic just flipped in a single moment. I wrap it up with a warning. If they fight, they'll wake the spirit. It's a "don't fight with friends" campaign, powered by pure terror. But the peace doesn't last. Dolores snaps back into her aggression, grabbing me before I can walk away. She's furious that I've made a fool of her, but she doesn't realize she's not the scariest person in this hallway. Suddenly, her hand is forced away. Someone has stepped in, and the air turns ice cold. Dolores freezes. The look on her face tells me that whoever just arrived is someone she truly fears. It's Katerina. She doesn't need to raise her voice to command the room. Her presence alone is a threat. The bullies scatter. It turns out, even the meanest maids have someone they won't cross. Katerina gives me a soft look, but I can't help but wonder what lies beneath that gentle exterior. I thank her, trying to keep my voice steady. In this house, kindness often comes with a hidden price. We're in trouble again for being late, but that's the least of my concerns right now. I follow Letitia toward the young master's wing. The further we go, the more the mansion feels like a tomb. Having a companion is reassuring, but it also means there's someone else to witness any mistake I make. Letitia mentions that the room was clean yesterday. If it's a mess now, it means Adrian had a rough night. She warns me that there's a mountain of work waiting for us. Adrian's outbursts are physical, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. I learn that the Countess visited him after a nightmare. It was probably a dream about that day, the day everything changed. Letitia goes quiet. She's seen things she can't talk about, secrets that have aged her beyond her years. She dismisses the topic quickly, but I can't let it go. Every bit of lore is a potential survival tool. I can't let her know how little I actually understand about this world. I have to play the part of the seasoned servant. There were many nights worthy of nightmares in Adrian's past, but one event stands out above the rest. The baptism. The day the holy water didn't bless him, but burned his skin like acid. No one else witnessed the horror, but the trauma remained etched into his very soul. The servants began to whisper a name that no child should ever hear. They called him Satan. Most of the people who were there that day are gone now. Only a few remains carrying the burden of that memory. I realize now that the fear in this house isn't just about a serial killer. It's about something they believe is truly unholy. We reach the door. The simple act of turning the handle feels like a life or death decision. Even with Letitia by my side, the dread is overwhelming. Entering his private sanctuary is like stepping into a lion's den. I have to keep my eyes down. If I look too closely, I might see something I can't unsee. The room is a wreck, furniture overturned, papers scattered, a physical manifestation of a mind in chaos. Blood-red stains on the floor, catching the light. I pray it's just ink, but in this game, it rarely is. Adrian acknowledges us without looking up. He sounds calm, which is often more terrifying than his rage. He looks up, and for a split second, I see a flicker of something human in those eyes before the coldness returns. He complains about the eyes watching him. He wants the room cleaned quickly, as if removing the clutter will remove the gaze. I stumble over my words. Every interaction with him feels like walking a tightrope over an abyss. Letitia directs me to help. We move like ghosts, trying to be as unobtrusive as possible while he sits and reads. The sunlight streaming through the window feels out of place here. It's too bright, too honest for a room filled with such darkness. I can feel him watching me. Even when he's focused on his book, his attention is a heavy weight on my shoulders. The sound of a page turning is as loud as a gunshot in the oppressive silence. I tried to keep my distance, but the layout of the room forces me to move closer to him than I'd like. He looks so fragile in this light, like a prince from a fairy tale. It's hard to remember that he's the one who will eventually end me. He's reading something ancient. The script is foreign to me, but the aura it gives off is unmistakably grim. I reach for the medicine tray, my hands trembling. This is the moment I usually try to escape. I set the tray down, keeping my voice as neutral as possible. Just a maid doing her duty. He stops me. He doesn't want me to leave the tray outside anymore. He wants me in the room where he can see me. My heart hammers against my ribs. He's changing the routine, and in a horror game, change usually means danger. He accuses me of avoiding him. It's not an accusation, really. It's a statement of fact that he finds amusing. He says he's relieved. That one word carries a terrifying amount of possessiveness. He doesn't want his favorite toy to hide. I offer a weak excuse, my face hidden in the shadows. I have to play the role of the humble servant perfectly. He watches my every move, a predator tracking its prey. I wonder if he can hear my heart racing. His gaze is unsettlingly intense. It feels like he's looking right through my skin, searching for the player inside. I keep my eyes closed, praying for the moment he lets me leave. The tension is thick enough to choke on. He finally turns away, his interest satisfied for now, but I know this is only a temporary reprieve. He dismisses me. The relief is so sharp it almost makes my knees buckle. Outside, the world is still bright and normal, a jarring contrast to the madness I just left behind. I lean against the cold stone wall, trying to regain my composure. Every encounter with him drains a little more of my soul. How much longer can I survive on this ice sheet? One wrong word, one wrong look, and the floor will shatter. I have to think. I have to analyze his patterns if I want to stay ahead of the script. The puzzle pieces are starting to fit together. He kills the people who know his secret, the people who saw what happened at the baptism. Letitia is still inside. She's one of the few who remembers the Satan of his childhood. I grab Katerina, my voice frantic. I need to know where Letitia is, even though I already suspect the answer. Katerina looks confused by my sudden panic. She doesn't see the patterns I do. She doesn't know the genre of the world we're in. The realization hits me like a physical blow. The puzzle is almost complete, and the final piece is a death sentence. The pieces are stained red. The history of this house is written in the blood of those who knew too much. Letitia is in the young master's room. She's alone with him, and she's the one person who can easily expose what he truly is. I look back at the closed door. Adrian is there, waiting. The game is moving forward, and I might be too late to stop the next murder. The tension in this room is suffocating. I can barely breathe, let alone find my voice to answer. Adrian stands there, holding that book like a weapon. Every shadow in this room feels like a calculated trap. Every sound is amplified. The way he grips the spine, it's all wrong for someone supposed to be a saint. I'm paralyzed. In a horror game, the most dangerous moment is when the killer smiles directly at you. Letitia's name hangs in the air. I want to scream for her to run, but my throat is tight with dread. I see her there, kneeling. She has no idea she's serving a monster. Letitia looks up, confused. She wonders why I'm just standing here, frozen in the doorway. My eyes are fixed on him. I know his secret, and in this world, that knowledge is a death sentence. The predator and the prey are in the same room, and I'm caught right in the middle. Adrian's shadow looms large. He's the protagonist of this horror, and I'm just a maid meant to be his first victim. He turns toward me. That effortless grace hides a mind that's already planned exactly how I'll end. He calls my name with a warmth that makes my skin crawl. He's playing his role perfectly. Letitia asks if he needs anything. She's so oblivious to the darkness radiating from him. She's checking on him, worried about his health. If only she knew what he was really capable of. Adrian fidgets, looking like a bashful boy, while I watch his hands for any sudden, lethal movement. I freeze as he asks what's wrong. He's noticing my reaction, and I can't let him see the fear. I force myself to be the loyal, slightly clumsy maid he expects me to be. Letitia excuses herself, leaving me alone with him. This is exactly what I was trying to avoid. She tells me to grab the blanket. It's a simple task, but my legs feel like heavy lead. I force a smile. If I survive this moment, it'll be a miracle. I need to test my new skill now, just one step at a time. The system is the only thing that can give me an edge in this nightmare. The sense skill. It's a gamble, but I have to know if it works the way I think it does. In a world governed by game logic, you follow the rules or you die. I tap the prompt. A red light flashes. The alarm is silent to them, but it's deafening to my ears. A pulsing heart icon appears. This is my proximity sensor for the killer. It really worked. The system is actually giving me a way to track his presence in real time. He isn't planning to kill me this second, but in a horror game, intent can change with a single dialogue choice. I have no defensive skills, no armor, just this one sense to tell me when the end is near. Every step I take is measured. I have to figure out the range of this alarm before it's too late. He's right there, looking perfectly normal by the bookshelf, but the system knows better. The alarm flinches. It's reacting to his every move, a frantic heartbeat in the corner of my vision. It's beeping faster the closer he gets, the more the system screams at me to run for my life. I realize now that this skill isn't just a luxury. It's my only lifeline in this house. It's specifically tuned to Adrian. He is the center of the danger in this world. For a moment, I think I can breathe. I have a tool now. I have a chance at survival. But then I feel his gaze. My hand tightens on the fabric. He's watching me too closely. He asks if something is there. He's testing me, sensing my sudden distraction. Those blue eyes aren't human. They're scanning me for any sign of defiance or knowledge. He's smiling again. He hates it when I look at anything other than him. I try to deflect, making excuses about the blanket. Anything to hide the fact that I'm terrified. My fingers are trembling. These game mechanics are the only thing keeping me sane. Letitia interrupts us. She's my only way out of this room before I snap. Adrian watches me leave. He's disappointed. I've survived another encounter, but the game is far from over. He looks at the book in his hand. He knows something is different about me now. Night falls over the mansion. The stars are out, but there's no true peace in this house. Back in my room, the sewing machine sits silent. My only sanctuary is this small, cold space. I finally got paid. My wages are the only thing that feels real in this pixelated reality. I saved them today. But I start to wonder, what's the point of saving characters that just reset? If I die, it's over for good. But for them, death is just a temporary state, a new game button. That's all they need. I'm the only one here with a soul at stake. Stop overthinking. 55 gold pieces. That's my prize for surviving another day. Maybe I can buy my way out, an escape ticket. Anything to get me back to my own reality. I just want to sleep. My body is exhausted and my mind is at its breaking point. I grab my pillow, ready to finally drift off, but the fabric feels strange and brittle. A system window pops up. Durability? Even my bedding has a life bar in this world. It says it needs a repair fee. It looks fine to me, but the game says otherwise. Suddenly, it starts to disintegrate. This world won't even let me have a place to lay my head. It's literally coughing up feathers. The absurdity of these game rules is driving me mad. Zero durability. My pillow is dead. The system even gives it a tiny gravestone. And then it takes my gold. 50 pieces, gone in an instant. My wages swallowed by a repair mechanic. I'm left sitting here, stunned. I'm mourning a pile of feathers in a maid outfit. Fine, I'll sleep without a pillow. How hard can it be to just lie down on the mattress? I close my eyes, determined to get some rest. I don't need luxury to survive. I'm tossed off the bed by an invisible force. The system has a rule for everything. My eyes snap open. I'm shocked, confused, and rapidly losing my patience with this world. You cannot sleep without a pillow. It's a hard-coded, cruel rule. I try again. I'll force myself to stay down. I should be able to override this logic. I'm fighting the very air around me. The physics of this game are working against my rest. I scream at the ceiling. I just want to sleep. Why are the rules so cruel? A warning appears. No sleep means no work tomorrow and no pay. It's a vicious cycle. I'm being thrown around like a rag doll. The room is a whirlwind of system errors. Every time I try to lie back, that window pops up. It's mocking me. The bed is a battlefield. I'm diving for the mattress like my life depends on it. I can do this. I don't need a pillow. I'll sleep on my arm if I have to. Another thud. The system is relentless. It won't let me break immersion. The ding sound is becoming the soundtrack to my descent into madness. I stagger back, breathless. My own room has become a torture chamber of game design. I won't give up. I'll keep trying until I pass out from pure exhaustion. Attempt number 328. I'm fighting a digital god just for 8 hours of rest. My gold is at 0, my energy is gone, and the sun is already starting to come up. In this world, beauty is merely a thin veil over a rotting core. I'm trapped inside a horror game, and every step I take is a gamble against a script that desperately wants me dead. Today's trial seems simple on paper. Deliver tea to the Countess. But in a horror setting, tea time is usually just a prelude to a massacre, and the blood on the walls suggests the party has already started. I step into the room, my voice trembling as I announce my presence. I am Hilda, the maid whose life depends on being invisible, yet just useful enough to avoid the chopping block. The air is thick and metallic. My eyes dart around, searching for the source of the dread already clawing at my throat. I can't let her see me falter. The scene before me is a nightmare rendered in high definition. Dark, viscous stains cover the floor like a map of a forgotten tragedy, and the silence is heavy enough to suffocate. I try to keep my face neutral, repeating the mantra that this isn't reality, it's just data. If I can just deliver the tray, maybe I can survive this encounter without triggering a death flag. But then, I see her eyes. There's no recognition in them, only a hollow void that seems to look straight through my soul and into the code beneath. A soft splash echoes. The sound of my own footsteps feels deafening in this charnel house. Every movement feels like I'm walking on a tightrope over an abyss. My heart hammers against my ribs, a rhythmic reminder that I'm still alive. Thump, thump. It's the only sound that belongs in a living world. She sits there, perfectly still, cradling something that should be a child but looks more like a charred remnant of a life long gone. My breath hitches. The game's immersion is too perfect. The way her hair falls, the absolute stillness of her frame, it's terrifyingly real for a set of pixels. I can feel her gaze shifting toward me. It's heavy, like a physical weight pressing down on my shoulders, demanding a tribute I'm not sure I can pay. Every instinct I have screams at me to run, but in this strange world, running is the fastest way to trigger a game over. I have to stand my ground. A single drop of sweat rolls down my neck. The silence here isn't just empty, it's a predator waiting for me to make the first mistake. I look down at the dark stains on the floor. The game developers really didn't hold back on the atmosphere. It's realistic enough to make me forget this is all artificial. I bow my head, hiding my fear behind the bangs of my hair. I have to be just another piece of the scenery, a background character that doesn't attract the monster's attention. My vision narrows until all I see is the tray. Focus on the service. Focus on the task. That is how you survive a haunting. I look up again, and for a split second, I think I see a flicker of something human in those hollow eyes, a spark of the person she used to be. Creak, creak. The sound of the rocking chair is a metronome for the insane, counting down the seconds until the next scripted event. "Hush, little baby," she whispers. The lullaby is more chilling than any scream could ever be, drifting through the room like a cold fog. I tell myself it's just code. She's just a character with a tragic backstory designed to unnerve the player. I'm the player. I'm in control. I move closer, my boots clicking softly on the floor. Each step is a bridge, crossing over into her personal brand of madness. The stench is the worst part. It's a realistic, cloying smell of decay that a simple game shouldn't be able to simulate. It gets into your lungs. I steady the tray. My hands are shaking, but I can't let the porcelain clatter. In this world, weakness is an invitation to be deleted. I lean in, my voice barely a whisper. I ask if there's anything else she needs, hoping the script allows me an exit. I wait for a reaction. Any reaction. The tension is a wire pulled so tight that even a breath might snap it. Slowly, I start to back away, hoping to escape the gravity of her presence before the room decides I'm part of the mess. She doesn't move. She just continues to rock that bundle, lost in a world of grief that I hope I never truly understand. Suddenly, she speaks. Child. The single word freezes the blood in my veins. The script has changed. I flinch, my body reacting before my mind can catch up. I answer her, my voice small, wondering what kind of interaction I've just triggered. She looks at the bundle in her arms, then back at me. There's a strange, terrifying lucidity in her gaze now. I wonder what she sees when she looks at me. Does she see a maid, or just another ghost to add to her collection? I take a chance. I offer her the special coffee I prepared. It's a gamble to see if I can manipulate the interest level of an NPC to secure my own safety. She takes a sip, her eyes narrowing as the unfamiliar flavor hits her tongue. The silence that follows is agonizing. I hold my breath. If she hates the gift, I might be joining the crows on the floor. This is the moment where the game decides my fate. Ding! The system notification finally pops up. Her interest in me has increased by 300 points. I've hit level 4. The atmosphere shifts instantly. The shadows seem less aggressive, and a faint, tragic smile touches her lips. I've successfully hacked her disposition. She asks for my name. The insane countess has suddenly become soft and approachable, all because of a few coins in a hidden stat. I tell her it's Hilda. Inside, I'm reeling. The power of these interest levels is terrifyingly effective at overwriting a character's personality. She starts talking about the village, her voice gentle and almost motherly. She's acting as if we aren't standing in a house of horrors. She mentions boutiques and fabrics, speaking of a world of color and light that feels impossible within these walls. Then, the real reward appears, a map reveal. By befriending the insane NPC, I've managed to unlock Ida Village, breaking the estate's boundaries. I can't hide my surprise. I thought only the main lead, Adrian, mattered for progression. I was wrong. The rules of this world are more complex than the game guide suggested. Every character is a potential key to a new door. I promise to bring back better ingredients next time. I'm already planning my next move, thinking of how to use this new freedom. As I prepare to leave, the lullaby starts up again. The madness hasn't left the room. It's just given me a temporary pass. Mama's gonna sing you, The words follow me to the door, a haunting reminder that I'm still playing a dangerous game. I step out, the clatter of the tray sounding like a victory march in my head. I walked into the lion's den and came out with a map. I leave the blood and the crows behind, but the image of her face stays with me. She's just another victim of this game's cruel logic. Looking back one last time, the room is just as dark, but the world outside those doors is finally starting to expand. The door shuts, cutting off the lullaby. The silence in the hallway feels much lighter than the silence in that room. My legs feel weak as I walk away. The adrenaline is finally starting to fade, replaced by a cold, trembling exhaustion. My eyes are wide, still processing the horror I just navigated. I survived by treating a woman's grief like a puzzle to be solved. I see a silhouette ahead. It's Emily, waiting for me with a look of pure dread, probably expecting to see a corpse. She jumps at the sight of me, asking if I'm okay. To her, I've just returned from the underworld. She tells me I'm as white as a sheet. She can't believe I stayed in there so long without losing my mind. I try to explain, but my voice fails me. How do you describe the feeling of befriending a ghost for stat points? We walk together, the distance from the Countess's room making the world feel a little more solid, a little less like a nightmare. Emily whispers about the rumors. The Countess thinking of moving his wife out of the estate. The scandal is spreading. She looks at me with pity. In her eyes, I'm just a lucky survivor of a mad woman's whims. She has no idea I was playing the system. She tells me to cheer up and gives me a supportive pat. It's a small, human moment in a world built on survival. But I have a mission now. I've been given a reward for my hard work, a trip to the village for errands and fresh air. The village represents a chance to find items that might help me with the real monster of this game, Adrian. The carriage arrives, and the sound of horseshoes on stone is a welcome change from the creaking of that rocking chair. I sink into the seat, watching the estate fade into the distance. It's a slow carriage, but every mile is a mile closer to freedom. I wonder what the max interest level rewards are for the other characters. This game is hiding more than it's showing. I clutch the errand list in my hand. I have a mission now that goes beyond just staying alive. I have to win. The village is bustling, a world away from the silent corridors of the Pfaltzgraff estate. Somewhere in these streets is the key to my next level of survival. In the world of this horror game, the morning sun is a deception. It promises a fresh start, but for a maid like me, it only marks the beginning of another day of grueling labor. Emily calls out to me, her voice filled with a cheerfulness that feels alien in this dark manner. She thinks I'm just a heavy sleeper, but the room is a mess, a reflection of the restless night I just endured. You see, survival in this strange world requires more than just avoiding death. It requires sleep, and sleep is exactly what's been stolen from me. I look like a ghost wandering the halls, my eyes heavy with the fatigue that no amount of coffee can fix. The castle looms over us, beautiful and terrifying. It operates on rules that defy logic, where your very existence is tied to invisible stats and game mechanics. Emily notices the state I'm in. She asks if it's really true that I couldn't sleep just because I didn't have a pillow. I can only offer a weak confirmation. To her, it's a minor inconvenience. To me, it's a catastrophic failure of my survival strategy. I can feel the dark circles under my eyes burning. My vision is beginning to swim, and the system is already calculating the cost of my exhaustion. Emily tries to be relatable, claiming she's had trouble sleeping without a pillow too. She has no idea that in my case, the pillow didn't just disappear. It was a calculated move by the young master. I wonder if pillows just vanish in this cursed place as a rule of the game. Those bastards. They won't even let me have the basic dignity of a rest. Emily offers to let me borrow her pillow, and for a moment, she is the only light in this shitty game. She even took the time to style my hair, trying to make me look human again. But then I see it. A different uniform. A shift in the routine that usually signals something much worse than simple chores. When I ask why, the answer hits me like a physical blow. We aren't going to the young master's room today. I can't help the burst of joy that escapes me. No young master means no danger, no psychological warfare, and maybe, just maybe, a chance to breathe. But the reason is grim. Adrian, the satanic young master, spent the dawn coughing up blood. His health is a flickering candle, and the doctor is desperate to keep it lit. Emily is genuinely worried. She wonders why he's so ill when he usually takes his medication so diligently. I know exactly why. I'm the culprit. I'm the one who didn't give him his medicine. A choice that seemed small at the time but is now rippling through the game's narrative. I have to play the part of the concerned maid. I offer a hollow wish for his recovery while Emily drags me toward our next task. We head to the gardens, a sprawling labyrinth of stone and greenery, where the social hierarchy of the manor is on full display. My gauge is increasing. Every step, every movement is being tracked. I have to work twice as hard to make up for the losses I suffered yesterday. Experience and gold, I won't let the system take them from me again. I steel myself, tightening my grip on my tools. I can feel the full power mode activating, a surge of artificial energy intended to keep the player moving even when the character is breaking. I will take everything this game owes me, every bit of currency, every scrap of progression. I am a maid on a mission. Suddenly, a chime rings out. A roulette event. In this world, even the most mundane labor can trigger a random twist of fate. I stand there, confused, as the interface overlays reality. A roulette? Now? I don't have time for games within games. It starts to spin, the colors blurring together. This is the social consequence of the world's strange rules. Nothing is ever straightforward. My heart stops as the needle slows down. I can't afford a penalty right now, not when I'm already at my limit. It clicks into place, and the sound of the chime is no longer a greeting, but a warning. A debuff. 30% of my exhaustion has been applied. The system doesn't care about my hard work, it only cares about the numbers. Exhaustion applied? I feel the weight of 1,000 sleepless nights suddenly settle onto my shoulders. The notifications flood my vision. Insufficient sleep is a crime in this game, and the punishment is a systematic dismantling of my abilities. My luck and experience points begin to plummet. I tried so hard to be nice, to play by the rules, but the game is designed to break you. I'm beyond annoyed. I'm furious. I didn't choose to skip sleep. I was forced into it by a plot point I couldn't control. Then a new menu appears. Mini-games, rhythm games, puzzles, brick breaks, all designed to mask the suffering of hard labor with fun. The prompt tells me that once I start enjoying these games, I'll forget all about the toil. What absolute nonsense! Adding these cute, pointless details to a horror game makes it even more unsettling. It's like the manor is mocking my struggle. But then, the bait. A cute raccoon hat reward. The system knows exactly how to manipulate a gamer's psychology. It's God tier. Even if it doesn't help my stats, the limited-time nature of the item makes it irresistible. I hate how well this game knows me. I initiate the game. The screen flickers to life, a retro interface appearing in the middle of the garden. But the debuff is too strong. My timing is off, my hands are shaking, and every miss feels like a nail in my coffin. I fail over and over again, over 20 times. Is it really the exhaustion debuff, or is the game just rigged against me? I can't end it like this. I need that experience. I need the gold. I start swinging wildly, my movements becoming erratic and desperate. To the other staff, I must look like I've finally lost my mind. Emily watches from the sidelines, convinced I'm just overtired. Night falls over the estate, the moon rising like a cold eye watching my every failure. The day is over, and I have nothing to show for it. My health is at 0. I'm dead on my feet. Emily gives me one final task, hoping to cheer me up, but I'm a hollow shell. I couldn't gain a single point of experience. My boots feel like lead as I walk through the silent, flower-lined paths. At least I don't have to pull weeds anymore. All that's left is to return the blanket to Adrian's room. A simple task, yet fraught with danger. The manor at night is a different beast. The portraits seem to watch you, their eyes following your every move through the dim corridors. Shadows stretch across the wallpaper, and the flickering candlelight only makes the silence feel heavier. I stand before his door, clutching the blanket. I have to be careful. One wrong move, one loud noise, and the horror could begin again. I creak the door open, the sound echoing in the stillness. I whisper a tentative greeting, hoping he's asleep or, better yet, not there at all. The room is empty, but the atmosphere is suffocating. I close the door behind me, my heart hammering against my ribs. No matter how many times I come here, I still get goosebumps. It feels like stepping onto a murder scene that's waiting to happen. All I have to do is leave the blanket on the bed and get out. Just a few more seconds of bravery and I can retreat to my own room. But then I see it. The bed. The pillows. They look so soft, so inviting. A paradise I've been denied for too long. I tell myself I can't do it. I'm just a maid. Touching the young master's pillow is a death wish in this social hierarchy. My hand trembles as it reaches out. I haven't slept. I'm not stealing it. I just want to feel it for 1 second. That cushion, that incredible softness. It's like a siren call to my exhausted mind. I give in. I collapse onto the pillow, the world around me dissolving into a haze of comfort and relief. It's amazing. I apologize to the satanic young master and Emily in my head, but I don't care. I am going to hug this pillow until the sun comes up. The bed sparkles with a comfort I haven't felt since I was dragged into this nightmare. I know I shouldn't be here, but my body refuses to move. I love you. Well, I lie, but just for now, he's my angel. This pillow is the only mercy this world has ever shown me.
It's awesome. Truly, purely awesome. Tears of joy prick at my eyes as I finally feel the weight of the day lift. But then, the chime. Not a game event this time, but a biological one. My eyes snap open, but my body is no longer mine to control. Exhaustion is here. The words blur on the system interface as the debuff finally takes total control. The second pillow war begins now. I'm ready to fight for this rest, even if the enemy is the system itself. I'm deeply moved by my own bravery, but the reality is that I'm simply out of strength. The game is overriding my will. No matter who it is, if they try to take this pillow, there will be no mercy. I will sleep mercilessly. I drift off, a small smile on my face, completely unaware of the danger I've placed myself in by falling asleep in the master's bed. The castle stands silent under the moon, a monument to the strange rules that govern our lives. Inside, the game continues to play out. I am buried under the covers, lost in a sleep so deep it feels like a different kind of death. But the system isn't finished with me. A strange heartbeat pulses in the room, a rhythmic thump that resonates through the floorboards. Something is waking up. Exhaustion is overriding stamina, switching to sleep mode. The heart of the manor beats on, a dark promise of the twists yet to come. In this world, every predator has a limit, a rule written in blood. You will eventually meet your natural enemy, an existence that defies your strength, a life you simply cannot take, no matter how much you crave it. To violate this rule is to invite total destruction. For someone like him, falling through the cracks of time and space, the stakes couldn't be higher. Amidst the endless descent between life and death, a dark realization finally took root in Satan's mind. He discovered that in these new lives, he is denied the mercy of a quick end. Instead, he is shackled to a fragile body, forced to endure the agonizing slow burn of disease as a constant punishment. This is the reality for Adrian Kaiser von der Paltstraff, a life that isn't a gift, but a self-sustaining curse. Dinner at the estate is a performance of normalcy, a quiet mask worn over a hollow shell. The staff looks on with practiced concern, asking the young master how he feels today, unaware of the darkness beneath his skin. He offers a polite smile, claiming he feels lighter than ever, playing the role of the recovering patient to perfection. They praise the doctor's new medicine, but Adrian knows the truth. His strength doesn't come from a bottle.
He expresses his gratitude to Alvin and Letitia, the very people who facilitate his gilded imprisonment. Behind that kind face, a different calculation is running. Every time he takes a life, his pain recedes just a little. It's a grisly trade. A spark of his old power returns with every drop of blood spilled. If that is how the curse works, the solution seems simple enough in his mind. He wonders, with chilling detachment, what would happen if he simply cleared the entire residence. The wine is poured, red as the secrets he keeps hidden from the sunlight. He remembers his first kill in this house, a maid whose unfortunate fall provided his first taste of relief. 5 souls have been sacrificed so far, 5 lives extinguished just so he could breathe. Yet it isn't enough. He is still a shadow of what he once was, lacking the power to truly break free. The servants chatter about the garden and the coming spring, oblivious to the predator sitting right in front of them. They recall how much he loved planting flowers when he was younger, using those little hands to nurture life. He listens, his eyes cold and distant, as they build a myth around a boy who no longer exists. They mention a specific flower he planted recently, the cistus, a small detail in a larger, deadlier game. To them, he is the center of their world. To him, they are merely resources waiting to be spent. His gaze sharpens. In his mind, humans fall into 2 distinct categories. There are those whose time has come, the humans to kill right this instant, and then there are the ones who are more useful kept alive for now. He raises his glass, a silent toast to the fragile creatures that sustain his very existence. Night falls over the estate, a heavy blue shroud that hides the movements of a restless soul. Adrian moves through the halls like a ghost, his mind preoccupied with the one flaw in his plan. His power of hypnosis has been recovering steadily. Most minds bend to his will without a second thought. Every step he takes is calculated, every interaction a test of his returning influence. But there is one person who remains untouched by his mental suggestions, a loud, irritating maid who goes out of her way to avoid him, defying the pull of his gaze. No matter how he tries to command her attention, she slips through his fingers. He watches the moon, the light reflecting the cold questions burning in his thoughts. Could she be the one the legend warned about? The existence he is forbidden to destroy? Is she truly his natural enemy? The thought is as fascinating as it is dangerous. He knows better than to jump to conclusions, but the evidence is mounting with every passing day. Vigilance is his only defense. If the curse is real, one wrong move could end everything. He contemplates the mystery, his silhouette framed by the cold light of the windows. It is time to retire, to let the questions rest until the morning sun brings new opportunities. He reaches for the handle of his bedroom door, expecting the silence of an empty room. But as the lock clicks, he freezes. The air in the room has changed. Someone is inside, someone who should not be there. He scans the darkness, his eyes narrowing as they land on his own bed. The sheets are disturbed, bunched up as if someone has made themselves quite comfortable. There, fast asleep in the heart of his sanctuary, lies the very maid who haunts his thoughts. She is deep in slumber, completely unaware that she is sleeping in the lion's den. In a world this beautiful, you'd expect a fairy tale, but look closer at the petals falling over the Pfalzgraf estate. This isn't a romance, it's a horror game where the scenery is just a mask for the terror lurking in the hallways. In a normal dating sim, a cold northern Grand Duke would eventually melt for the heroine. Here, that coldness is a warning of a sharp blade and a shallow grave. The golden retriever knight with the charming smile? In this reality, he's just another variable that could lead to a swift game over if you step out of line. Even the mischievous tower master isn't safe.
Every lead in this world is a potential executioner, and I'm just the maid trying to keep her head attached to her shoulders. The title says, Pfalzgraf in Love, but the only thing fluttering in this county is my heart from pure, unadulterated fear. Everything was supposed to be simple. I was just supposed to clean and survive. But as I reach out into the light, reality begins to warp around me. I remember wanting something. Comfort? A moment of peace? In this game, those are the most expensive luxuries of all. My eyes snap open, and the world is cold and blue. I recognize these sheets. This isn't my cramped servant's quarters. This is his room. The realization hits me like a physical blow. I fell asleep in the young master's bed. The person I should fear most is sitting right there, watching. I can feel the blood draining from my face. My survival instincts are screaming, but my body is frozen under his gaze. He's sitting in the shadows, a book in his hand, looking down at me as if I'm a specimen under a microscope. How long has he been sitting there? Adrian, the man who is supposed to be the monster of the story. He smiles, but his eyes are like ice, demanding to know why a mere maid is occupying his bed. I scramble to my feet, my hands trembling as I clutch the fabric. I need to move. I need to apologize before he decides I'm no longer useful. The room feels miles wide as I try to put distance between us. Every breath is a struggle, the air heavy with the threat of what he might do next. My voice catches in my throat. I try to find the words to explain the inexplicable. How do you tell a potential murderer you just needed a nap? I start rambling. Anything to fill the silence. I mention the garden, the fatigue, the lack of a pillow in my own room. I sound insane even to myself. I offer to wash the sheets, to scrub the floors, to do anything to make up for this transgression. I am a speck of dust in his world, and I know it. He just watches me, silent and calculating. Does he want to swap beds? No, that's just my panic-induced brain trying to find a joke in a death sentence. He holds his book, but he hasn't turned a page. His focus is entirely on me, and that is far more terrifying than if he were shouting. Then I notice it. The way he's looking. It's not just anger or annoyance. There's a strange, dark curiosity there that makes my skin crawl. He looks away for a moment, but the tension doesn't break. I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting for the wind to push me over. The distance between us feels like a physical barrier. He's the master of this domain, and I'm just a trespasser in a place I don't belong. I realize he wasn't reading at all. He's been staring at the same spot, his mind miles away, or perhaps focused entirely on how to deal with me. He tells me to leave, just like that. No execution, no torture, just a simple command to get out of his sight. I hesitate, gesturing to the bed I've soiled with my presence. He says he'll take care of it. My mind is reeling. Why is he being lenient? As I walk away, I feel his eyes on my back. It feels like a spider web is being woven around me, a trap I didn't even see him set. I need to get out before he changes his mind. A minor servant like me shouldn't push her luck. I need to run and never look back. If I can just make it to the end of the day, maybe I can survive this game. Maybe there's a way out after all. My mind drifts to a different kind of world, a real dating sim, one where the choices lead to love instead of a bloody ending. Imagine being an aristocratic lady, sleeping in a bed this soft every night without the fear of being murdered in your sleep. A world of dancing and flowers, where the only thing at stake is who you'll marry. It feels like a cruel joke compared to my current reality. I could be rewarded for my suffering, transmigrated into a dream game where the men are handsome and the only danger is a broken heart. But the dream is shattered by a familiar digital sound. The system. It never lets me stay happy for long. Why is the UI appearing now? I've already left the room.
What could the game possibly want from me now? A notification pops up, and my heart stops. 300 gold, deducted for ruining the pillow and blanket. That's more than I've ever earned. I can see the gold coins flying away in my mind. Every hour of scrubbing, every day of toil, gone in a single digital ping. My fortune is 0. My eyes reflect the empty balance. This isn't just a fine. This is a total financial wipeout. The system warns me of additional damages. That means everything I earn from now on will be seized. I'm a slave to a debt I can't pay. Bankruptcy. The game offers me 2 choices, yes or yes. There is no escape from the mechanical cruelty of this world. All that's left for me is to be kicked out and starve as a beggar. The horror of the game isn't just the monsters, it's the poverty it enforces. I take a deep breath. I can't let it end like this. I have to fight back against the system, even if it means facing the young master again. I turn back toward his door. I have to do something. I have to bargain for my life and my livelihood. I can't just leave. If I do, I'm already dead. I have to make him punish me in a way that doesn't involve my gold. I throw myself at his mercy, or at least the performance of it. I need him to see a desperate, repentant maid, not a target. This is the imagination I'm projecting. A girl desperate for rest, pleading for a way to make things right through labor instead of money. The young master looks up from his book, truly confused for the first time. He told me to leave, and here I am begging for punishment. He stares at me with those piercing blue eyes. He doesn't understand the rules I'm playing by. He doesn't see the UI. I tell him I'll submit to anything. Weeding, cleaning, peeling onions. Anything is better than the system's bankruptcy. I'm crying, or at least I'm trying to. I need him to believe that I can't afford the damages and that labor is my only currency. In my head, I'm just a small creature driven to the edge of a cliff by a bully. The system is the monster here. It scrapes up every cent for ridiculous reasons. It's a tyrant that doesn't even have a physical form to fight. I can't kick the system out. I can't fight it with strength. All I can do is try to navigate the mess it makes of my life. I beg him to keep this a secret. If the head housekeeper finds out I'm this incompetent, my life in the mansion is over, regardless of the gold. I'll make sure he isn't impacted negatively. I'll be the perfect servant, if only he'll help me bypass the system's penalty. He's silent for a long time. The air in the room shifts again, turning from cold to something heavy and expectant. Adrian stands up. He moves toward me, his shadow stretching across the floor. He has a question, and he wants the truth. He says it's an answer he has no choice but to hear from me. My heart hammers against my ribs. What could he possibly want to know? The distance between us vanishes. He's right there, a presence that fills the room and suffocates my attempts at acting. He looks down at me, his expression unreadable. This isn't the face of a killer, but it isn't the face of a friend either. He tells me to respond honestly. No more games, no more rambling, just the truth. But the truth is I'm from another world, and that would get me killed. I look up at him, my eyes wide. I'm trapped between a digital bully and a flesh and blood monster. There is no right answer. His hand reaches out. I flinch, expecting a blow, but his touch is surprisingly gentle. It's a different kind of terror. His fingers brush against my skin. It's a gesture of intimacy that feels entirely wrong in this horror-filled mansion. He tilts my head up, forcing me to meet his gaze. I'm completely at his mercy now, more than I've ever been. I can see the reflection of my own fear in his eyes. He's searching for something in me, something the game hasn't told me about. He calls my name, Hilda. It sounds different coming from him, like a claim, like a secret. The world outside the room fades away. There's only the two of us and the strange, dark energy flowing between us. I'm lost. I don't know the script for this scene. The game has gone off the rails, and I'm the one who has to deal with the consequences. His gaze is intense, almost pleading. He's the one in control, yet he looks like he's the one waiting for a life-saving word. He leans in closer, his breath warm against my ear. The monster is speaking, and I'm the only one who can hear him. He tells me that I make him something. The sentence hangs in the air, unfinished and terrifying. What have I done to the villain of this game?
In this world, a single wrong move doesn't just mean a scolding, it means a permanent game over. Adrian traps me against the door, his eyes scanning for any sign of the girl who dared to sneak into his bed. The air is thick with his suspicion. I have to say something, or this scene ends in blood. So I do the only thing a girl trapped in a horror game can. I pivot to the most ridiculous excuse possible. I tell him he's too handsome, that his face is so radiant it's actually painful to look at. He freezes, the murderous intent in his eyes replaced by pure, unadulterated confusion. I keep the lie going, rambling about how my heart can't handle his sickly sweet good looks. I'm practically shouting it now, hoping the sheer absurdity of the flattery will act as a shield. I even throw in some fake tears. In a world of monsters, a little bit of drama goes a long way. I'm terrified he'll see right through me, but I have to play the part of the love-struck maid to survive. The silence stretches out as he processes my words. It's a gamble, and the stakes are my life. He finally backs off, the tension breaking just enough for me to breathe again. Internally, I'm fuming that I have to stroke his ego, but survival is the only priority right now. Adrian looks almost dazed, as if no one has ever had the audacity to use his face as a weapon against him. His gaze lingers, searching for the lie, but I keep my expression fixed in a mask of adoration. He lets me go, turning away with a dismissive wave that feels like a stay of execution. I don't wait for him to change his mind. I reach for the handle, ready to bolt before he remembers he's a killer. In my mind, I'm already calculating my next move. This mansion is a puzzle I have to solve. If I can keep his interest level managed, I might just live long enough to find a way out of here. Walking away feels like escaping a predator's den, every step heavy with the weight of the game's rules. But the system isn't done with me yet. A notification pops up, a reminder that my actions have consequences. My flattery actually worked. His interest level rose, which is both a relief and a terrifying new problem. He watches me leave, his eyes unreadable. In a horror game, an interested killer is rarely a good thing. I scurry off into the night, the cold moonlight offering little comfort against the shadows of the estate. Morning brings a deceptive sense of peace, the bright sky hiding the horrors that lurk behind closed doors. The mansion looks grand in the daylight, but I know better than to trust the scenery. A small bird chirps on a branch, a rare moment of normalcy in this twisted reality. I focus on my tasks, pouring tea and keeping my head down, trying to blend into the background. Emily and I take a moment to rest. She's relieved we've been given a break, unaware of how close I came to death. She asks me what happened, her curiosity piqued by the rumors swirling through the servants' quarters. The other maids were shocked by my efficiency lately. They don't realize I'm just using my past life skills to survive. I've been doing everything perfectly. The tea, the linens, the organization. It's all part of the grind. Emily is impressed, but to me, these are just experience points building up my level. Every task completed is a step toward a new skill, something that might give me an edge in this nightmare. The system window shows my progress, level 7. It's a start, but I'm still just a non-valuable worker. I need to find a way to use the character's interest in me to gain more powerful items or skills. Is Adrian really the type to be swayed by flattery, or is the system just playing with me? Emily snaps me out of my thoughts, her voice trembling as she mentions the madam's room. She's been tasked with going there, but she's too terrified to even step near the door. She begs me to go with her, her eyes wide with a fear that I recognize all too well. I hesitate. The Countess's room is notorious for being a place of no return. Emily can't even think about it without shaking. She's convinced there's something demonic waiting inside. But the Countess isn't the monster in the game. At least, that's what I remember. In horror games, the scariest rooms are usually where the best information is hidden. If there's a way to defeat Adrian, or at least survive him, the clues must be in that room. It's a risk, but staying stagnant is just as dangerous. I decide it's worth the attempt. Emily is overjoyed that I'll take her place, her face lighting up with misplaced hope. I tell her I'll go in and out quickly. I just need to find something useful.
She hugs me, calling me her best friend. I feel a pang of guilt, knowing I'm doing this for my own survival. I find myself standing before the door, the heavy wood feeling like a barrier between life and something much worse. The tray in my hands feels impossibly heavy as I prepare to enter the lion's den. The hallway is silent, the air still and cold. It's as if the house itself is holding its breath. I tell myself it can't be worse than Adrian's room, but a sticky, uncomfortable feeling tells me otherwise. I knock softly, announcing my presence. There's no answer, just the echoes of my own voice. I wait, my heart pounding against my ribs. Still nothing. I try again, but the silence is absolute. It's the kind of quiet that precedes a scream. I look around, checking the shadows. The hallway feels narrower than it did a moment ago. The darkness seems to be creeping out from under the door, staining the floorboards. I notice a dark, viscous liquid seeping into the grain of the wood. It's not just shadow. A portrait hangs nearby, the figure obscured by grime and age. It feels like it's watching me. I try to laugh it off, telling myself it's just a tired horror trope. The door creaks open on its own, a slow, agonizing sound that chills me to the bone. I step inside, my boots clicking on the floor. It's too late to turn back now. I tell myself I just need to finish my work and go to bed. But as I step further in, I realize the liquid on the floor is everywhere. It's thick and black, clinging to my boots like tar. The smell is overwhelming. My eyes adjust to the gloom, and I see the walls are covered in bloody handprints. A soft, rhythmic sound reaches my ears. A lullaby, sung in a voice that sounds like grinding stone. I freeze, my blood running cold as the words of the song sink in. There, by the window, sits the Countess. She's rocking a bundle in her arms, swaying to the music. I see what's in the blanket. It's a goat's head, its eyes glassy and dead, cradled like a precious child. The Countess doesn't look up. She's lost in her own madness, nurturing a monster. I take a step back, the floorboards groaning under my weight. I have to get out of here. She turns her head slowly, her vacant eyes meeting mine. The true horror of this mansion has only just begun. The village clock tower looms over a town that feels far too bright for the world I'm stuck in. Everywhere I look, the game mechanics are calling out to me, whispering the stats of things I can't have. Even the simplest pencils are labeled as high-quality hardwood, a detail that feels mocking when you're just trying to survive. I find myself biting my lip, trying to ignore the constant urge to spend what little money I've managed to scrape together. The prompt flashes before my eyes, a digital temptation asking if I'll really pull the trigger on a purchase. It's a struggle. I want these things, even if they're just souvenirs of a life I'm desperately trying to navigate. But for someone who barely has a place to lay her head, these luxuries are a trap I can't afford to fall into. I need to stay focused. Katerina gave me a specific list of errands for the estate, and that has to come first. The villagers are quick to approach me, their faces full of a warmth that almost feels suspicious in a world built on horror. I move from shop to shop, checking off items as the bag in my hand begins to feel heavier with every stop. It seems like everyone has something extra to offer, whether it's a better cut of meat or a loaf of bread still warm from the oven. They bow and scrape, their generosity almost overwhelming as I try to keep track of everything I've been given. I head down the path, the weight of the supplies a physical reminder of the status the Paltzgraf family holds here. The architecture of the village is stunning, a picture-perfect facade that hides the rot I know is lurking just beneath the surface. Finally, I find a bench and let out a long, tired breath as I collapse onto the wooden slats. I managed to get everything, but the villagers were so insistent on giving me more than I actually asked for. Especially the butcher. He was practically beaming, acting as if serving someone from the Count's estate was the highlight of his week. And then a new notification pops up, a special price for a bag to carry all this weight. The game always knows exactly where my weaknesses are. I lean back, trying to process the sheer scale of the generosity I've encountered today. It's more than just being polite. They keep using that word, angel. They speak of the Pfaltzgrafs as if they're divine beings sent to protect them. Apparently, the family saved this village from ruin years ago, providing for children who had no one else to turn to. Listening to the history I never knew, I start to realize why the people here are so fiercely loyal to the Count. It's a strange feeling, hearing such praise for a family I know is tied to something much darker and more dangerous. The contrast is jarring. To the world, they are saviors. To me, they are the source of a constant low-level dread. My thoughts are interrupted by the sight of two women nearby, their conversation drifting over to my bench. A bell chimes in the distance, a gentle sound that cuts through the afternoon air. I look over, my curiosity piqued by the mention of a store I haven't visited yet. A duvet store? In a village this size, a shop dedicated to luxury bedding feels like an invitation to waste more money. The interior is beautiful, filled with the kind of comforts that seem impossible to find in a maid's quarters. I tell myself to focus. I have work to do. I have gold to earn. I shouldn't be looking at things I don't need. But then the texture of the fabric catches me off guard. It's soft, inviting, and everything my current life is not. Before I know it, I'm handing over my hard-earned coins for a luxurious pillow. The game's description promises a refreshed morning, and I'm desperate enough to believe it. I think back to the lumpy, miserable thing I've been using at the estate. It deserves a proper burial for all the neck pain it's caused me. My wallet is lighter, and the guilt is already starting to set in, but the comfort in my arms is almost worth the price. As I start to leave, I catch the tail end of a much darker conversation happening in the shadows of the shop. They're whispering about a man named Jake. The way they say his name makes my skin crawl. He disappeared without a trace, only to be found days later in a state that defies words. The details are gruesome. Wrists cut, a life snuffed out in a way that suggests a calculated, cold-blooded cruelty. The women look terrified, their voices trembling as they wonder how many more will fall victim to this nameless horror. They blame the inspectors, questioning how a killer could still be on the loose when a culprit was supposedly caught years ago. It's clear they caught the wrong person back then, and now the village is paying the price for that failure. I find myself leaning in, unable to look away from the raw fear etched into their faces. The realization hits me that no one is safe. The peace of the afternoon was just a thin veil over a growing panic. I try to act casual, waving off their concern as if I'm just another passing maid, but my heart is racing. When I mention I work at the Count's estate, the atmosphere changes instantly. The fear is replaced by a strange kind of awe. They talk about how lucky I am to be under the protection of such a kind man, as if the estate is a fortress against the darkness. One of them even mentions wanting to send her own daughter to work there, convinced it's the safest place in the entire region. I listen to their theories, how the murders seem random, with no connection between the victims to help the authorities find a pattern. But I can't help but look at things differently. I see the shadows where they see sanctuary. The number of people clamoring to get inside the estate walls is growing, all of them seeking a safety that might not actually exist. It's the perfect cover. If the world refuses to suspect the pulse graphs, then the killer has the ultimate hiding place. Am I just being paranoid? Or am I the only one seeing the truth because I know the rules of this twisted game? I finish my business and prepare to leave, the weight of my new pillow feeling much heavier than it did a few minutes ago. I can suspect anyone I want, but without proof, I'm just a maid with a wild imagination and a very expensive pillow. Still, the doubt remains. Adrian is sickly, weak, and barely able to walk most days. How could he possibly be a serial killer? If he's truly as ill as he seems, the logistics of him traveling to the village to commit these crimes don't add up. I pass a couple on the street, their simple interaction a reminder that life goes on even in the midst of a nightmare. Sometimes I forget that this is a world populated by real people, each with their own stories and struggles, not just NPCs in a horror script. I need to stop overthinking and get back to the estate. My survival depends on increasing my standing with the family, not solving local mysteries. I walk through the streets, my eyes scanning the shop fronts for anything else that might help me climb the social ladder. Suddenly, something catches my eye. A detail that feels out of place, even in this meticulously crafted village. I stop in my tracks, my breath hitching as I look down at the ground. That's something I wasn't expecting to see. A clue, or perhaps just another piece of the puzzle I'm not ready to solve. The sun hangs high over the village, a deceptively peaceful backdrop for a girl trying to outrun her own death. Hilda steps out of the stationery shop, her heart heavy, even if her purse is light. The bell jingles behind her, a cheerful sound that mocks the dread pooling in her stomach. She has a mission, one that requires a very specific, very humble tool. In her hand, she clutches a simple pencil. In any other world, it's just wood and lead. Here, it's a survival tactic. She bought it out of pure desperation. In this twisted horror game, every interaction is a gamble, and she's betting on this to change the odds. She even had to sacrifice her dream of the godly pillow for this. Comfort is a luxury she can't afford when her life is on the line. The rules are simple, but cruel. Increase Adrian's interest levels, or face the consequences. She's a poor civilian forced to bribe the bourgeoisie just to see tomorrow. She's just a tenant in this nightmare, and he is the rich young master who holds all the cards. The power imbalance is a physical weight she carries through the streets. Her eyes scan the path ahead, searching for any sign of the predator who haunts her every waking thought. The sky is a brilliant blue, filled with the kind of light that should make a person feel safe. But Hilda knows the brightest days often hide the darkest secrets. She sighs, questioning her own sanity. Is a pencil really going to save her from a serial killer? She stops near the park benches, the shadows of the leaves dancing on the pavement like reaching fingers. What's a rip-off? The voice is smooth, melodic, and far too close. Adrian is right there, appearing out of thin air like a ghost in broad daylight. He tilts his head, his expression of mild, curious interest. It's the look of a scientist observing a particularly interesting insect. The shock sends her bags flying. The jump scare is so effective it nearly sends her heart into her throat. He offers a small, apologetic smile, but there's no warmth in it. It's just a mask he wears to blend in with the humans. Hilda collapses to the ground, her legs turning to jelly as she trembles in his presence. The proximity is suffocating.
How could she not be scared? He didn't just walk up, he manifested. In this game, the monster is always closer than you think. The blue sky above them feels like a mockery of her terror. He says he didn't mean to scare her, but every word feels like a lie. He reaches out a gloved hand, asking if she's hurt. It's a gesture of kindness that feels like a threat. Hilda stares at that hand, her mind racing. She has to play the part of the devoted maid, no matter how much she wants to scream. She forces a smile, her eyes darting between his hand and the bag on the ground. She has to keep him distracted. He looks down at her with a soft, patient gaze. It's the kind of look that would make any other girl swoon, but Hilda only sees the killer beneath. He muses that she must really like his face, noticing her intense stare. If only he knew it was the stare of someone checking for a hidden blade. She forces a laugh, sweat beading on her forehead. The light of his handsome face feels like it's burning her. He compliments her, saying her expressions and thoughts are very genuine. It's a terrifying thing to hear from a man who reads people like open books. He asks what she's doing in the village, noting that she doesn't go out very often. He's tracking her movements even when she's away from the estate. She stammers out an excuse about kitchen errands. Her heart is hammering against her ribs, a frantic rhythm she's sure he can hear. He offers to help her with the bag. It's a simple request, but in this world, every favor comes with a price she's not ready to pay. The bag is heavy, filled with the mundane items of a maid's life, but it feels like a shield between her and him. She catches a glimpse of the townspeople watching them. They see a fallen angel helping his servant. They have no idea they're watching a predator play with his food. Adrian's mouth curves into a thin, enigmatic line. He's enjoying this facade of the perfect gentleman. Bathed in the golden sunlight, he looks divine. It's the ultimate survival rule of this game. The most dangerous things are always the most beautiful. Hilda knows she needs to retreat. Being this close to him is like standing on the edge of a crumbling cliff. She tries to sneak away, her feet moving as quietly as possible on the cobblestones. Just a few more steps, and she can breathe again. But he won't let her go so easily. He suggests they return to the estate together, his hand reaching for her bag once more. Then, a sharp, metallic sound cuts through the air, a clang that freezes the blood in her veins. On the ground, glinting in the light, lies a pair of gardening scissors. They didn't come from her bag. They came from him. Hilda stares at the blades, her mind screaming. Why does a sickly young master carry heavy gardening shears in his pocket? The horror of the situation sets in. This isn't a tool. In the hands of a serial killer, this is a murder weapon, plain and simple. She points a trembling finger at the shears, her voice barely a whisper as she asks why he has something so dangerous. He picks them up with a casual air, the metal shing sounding like a death knell. He claims they're just regular scissors, but Hilda isn't buying it. She has to get them away from him. If she can disarm the killer, she might stand a chance. She demands he hand them over immediately. Adrian tilts his head, a look of mock surprise on his face. "Are you worried about me?" he asks, his voice dripping with false sweetness. She reaches for the shears, her movements frantic. She plays the role of the concerned maid, terrified he'll hurt his fragile self. But he plays with her, holding the scissors high above his head like a trophy. He's taller, stronger, and he knows exactly what he's doing. He mocks her, saying she's too weak to carry them. The irony is bitter. He's the one who's supposedly bedridden, yet he's the one with the power. Hilda's internal monologue is a scream of rage. He's a despicable liar, using his angelic face to hide his lethal intentions. She tries to grab them again, her face flushed with a mix of fear and fury. She won't let him keep his weapon.
They're locked in a bizarre tug-of-war in the middle of the street, a deadly dance disguised as a domestic squabble. He claims he's not an evil employer who wants to add to her burden. Every word is a jab at her intelligence, a reminder that he knows she's onto him. Hilda reaches her breaking point. If he wants to hold the bag, fine, she'll take the shears. Her temper flares as bright as the sun above. She sees an opening, a moment where his guard is down, or perhaps a moment where he's letting her think she has a chance. She lunges. She won't die like a scripted NPC in some twisted game. She'll fight back, even if it's just for a pair of scissors. She grabs the handle, her fingers closing around the cold metal. For a second, she thinks she's won. But her momentum is too great. The world tilts, the sky and the buildings blurring into a single chaotic streak of color. They fall together, the impact jarring her bones. The sound of their bodies hitting the pavement is dull and final. She finds herself pinned against him, her hand still clutching the shears. The proximity is no longer a threat. It's a cage. Adrian looks down at her, his eyes wide with a strange, dark curiosity. He isn't angry. He's fascinated. Hilda can't move, her breath coming in short, ragged gasps. She's staring into the eyes of the monster, and for once, he's not hiding. "If you wanted them so badly," he whispers, his voice vibrating through her chest, "you could have just said so." The game has just become much more dangerous. The sun is high over the capital, a deceptive brightness for a world where every shadow hides a potential game-over screen. Just a moment ago, the ground felt like the only safe place to be, far away from the gaze of the man who holds my life in his sickly hands. Panic is a loud, vibrating thing. It tells you to run, to scream, to put as much distance as possible between yourself and the monster. But in a horror game, running without a plan is just a faster way to trigger a bad ending. I can't leave him lying there. I can see it now, the "you died" screen flashing before my eyes. One wrong move, one sharp object in the wrong hand, and it's over. I have to play the part of the devoted maid, the one who worries about her master's fragile health above all else to maintain the social script. Adrian looks so weak, so pale. It's hard to remember that this is the same person who was destined to paint the town red. He offers a hand, or perhaps a trap. In this world, they often look exactly the same. Then there are the scissors, a simple tool for some, but a lethal weapon in the hands of a killer who hasn't even begun his spree. He asks if I'm okay with giving them back, his voice smooth and devoid of the malice I know is lurking just beneath the surface. I reach for them, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. Every physical contact feels like a gamble. For now, the danger is tucked away in my bag. I just need to find the right moment to slip away and find the inspector. But Adrian is observant. He wants to know where I was headed, why a simple maid is wandering so far from her usual route. I have to give him something, a distraction, a peace offering to keep the predator at bay while I'm cornered. This pencil, it's cheap and ordinary, but maybe it's enough to buy me another hour of life. I hold it out, praying he doesn't see the way my fingers are trembling as he reaches for it. He looks at it with a strange, unreadable expression. Is it curiosity, or is he just humoring his prey for the afternoon? The silence stretches between us, heavy and suffocating, as he studies the small gift. Success. In this twisted reality, even the smallest gesture can shift the invisible scales in my favor. I've become a slave to the interest-level meta. If I can keep his curiosity piqued, I stay alive another day. It's a pathetic way to live, but I'm not ready to let the credits roll on my story just yet. The carriage ride back to the estate is a descent into a different kind of darkness as the sun begins to set. We sit in silence, the rhythmic clatter of hooves the only sound in the golden, ominous twilight. I was supposed to meet Inspector Harrison. I was supposed to find a way out. Instead, I'm locked in a box with the devil. He's been sitting there with his eyes closed, looking every bit the exhausted noble, but I don't trust the quiet. The moment the carriage hits a bump, the tension snaps back into place, sharp and immediate. I try to fill the void with meaningless chatter about the luxury of the carriage, anything to keep his mind off my behavior. He says my name, and the air in the small space suddenly feels very thin and cold. He's noticed. He's noticed every tremor, every hesitation, and every lie I've tried to tell. His fingers tap a slow, deliberate rhythm on his knee, counting down the seconds until my next mistake. While my own hand grips the hidden scissors, a desperate defense I hope I never have to actually use. I make excuses. I tell him life is difficult, that I'm just sensitive and overwhelmed by the weight of my duties. I talk about the stress of the job and the fear of losing my pay. I'm trying to sound like a common worker. It's a performance, a desperate lie woven to hide the fact that I'm terrified of what he might do next. But Adrian isn't easily fooled. He remembers the version of me from before I took over this body. The original maid wasn't like this. She wasn't scared. She didn't talk back or have these strange reactions. He knows I've changed. He can sense the soul of a stranger beneath the uniform, and it fascinates him. I knew I had to see the inspector. If I stay with this murderer any longer, I'll eventually lose my mind. Where were you trying to go? The question is a trap, and we both know it. He saw right through me. He knows I wasn't just running errands for the household. He leans back, looking like a king on a throne of roses, waiting for his prey to finally admit defeat. A knock at the door. The real world finally intrudes on our private nightmare. We've arrived at the estate, but the safety of the mansion is just another cage with better wallpaper. The sun sets over the towers, casting long, bloody shadows across the courtyard as we return home. I grab my bag, eager to escape the suffocating atmosphere of the carriage and his intense gaze. But he doesn't let me go that easily. There's always one more thing, one more command. He tells me to call the butler. Even in his apparent weakness, he's the one pulling the strings. His eyes are cold and calculating. He's watching my every move, waiting for me to slip up and reveal my secret. I step out into the fading light, the weight of his gaze still heavy on my back like a physical burden. He sounded so polite, yet there was a threat in every syllable. He knows I'm hiding something. He's being patient with my lies for now, but I can't count on his amusement lasting forever. This is a precarious game of tightrope, and I'm betting my life on every single step I take. If this cycle of suspicion and fear continues, I'll never survive the winter in this house. I can see the reflection of the killer in his eyes, a glimpse of the horror I'm trying to prevent. He calls my name again, pulling me back into his orbit before I can even walk away. I'm a maid. I'm an employee. I have rules I'm supposed to follow in this social hierarchy, but this game has its own rules, and I'm starting to realize that being a good maid isn't enough to survive. If he's going to keep questioning me, then it's time I start asking some questions of my own to change the dynamic. The golden hue of the sunset should feel peaceful, but in this world, beauty is just a mask for the terror beneath. I find myself questioning every gesture, every word. Why did he offer me a ride? In a horror game, nothing is ever free. The carriage stands silent, a dark silhouette against the dying light, a reminder that I am a mere maid in a house of monsters. I can feel my heart racing. His interest in me hasn't just increased, it's evolved into something far more dangerous. So I have to ask. I have to know the truth before it's too late. Why are you being so nice to me? It's a hypocritical question, isn't it? I'm the one living a lie, pretending to be someone I'm not just to stay alive. The leaves rustle in the wind, whispering secrets I'm not yet ready to hear. The carriage pulls away, but the weight of the conversation lingers in the air like a heavy fog. I watch it go, feeling more exposed than ever.
The rules of this world are shifting under my feet. Adrian calls my name. It sounds soft, almost affectionate, which is the most terrifying thing of all. He admits he would have ignored anyone else. To him, I'm a special case, a variable he didn't account for. There's an old saying about keeping your enemies close, but Adrian takes it to a much darker level. To him, people are pieces on a board, meant to be manipulated and moved at his whim. He wants a mirror that reflects him, someone who understands the darkness he carries inside. His footsteps are steady, confident. He knows he has the upper hand, and he enjoys the thrill of the hunt. Even if he has to break them, even if he has to leave them barely breathing, he will have his way. He reaches out, his hands steady as he closes the distance between us. That smile. It's the kind of look that makes you forget he's a killer, if only for a fleeting second. He touches my face, a gesture so intimate it feels like a threat. He tells me he wants to be nice to me specifically. Hilda. The name feels like a brand on his tongue. Then he drops a warning. Someone is waiting at my door, and they don't sound happy. He bids me goodnight with a look that promises we aren't done yet, not by a long shot. The wind picks up as I head back to the manor, the lights in the windows looking like predatory eyes. I knew it. The person waiting for me is exactly who I feared. Head maid Letitia. She looks like she's ready to tear me apart for being late. I'm caught between a murderous master and a furious superior. This game really wants me dead. I have to scramble for an excuse, playing the part of the humble, respectful maid to perfection. Time for a bribe. I offer her a gift, something to soothe the anger before it boils over. The door clicks shut, and I finally have a moment to breathe in the silence of my room. That was way too close. If I hadn't had that bribe ready, I'd be scrubbing floors until sunrise. The moonlight filters through the window, casting long, cold shadows across the floor. While I was dealing with Letitia, a notification popped up. A new skill has been unlocked. I finally have some privacy. It's time to see what this game is giving me to help me survive. Visionary's Eye. It allows me to see darkness in objects, making them glow red. A literal lifesaver. I decide to test it on the scissors I saw Adrian carrying earlier. What secrets are they hiding? The instructions said items with darkness would glow, but as I look at them, something feels wrong. I think back to Adrian in the carriage, his expression softening as he talked about the garden. He said he wanted to prune the garden himself because his mother's condition had worsened. He looked so sincere, so vulnerable. It's hard to reconcile that image with the man who talked about breaking enemies. He claimed it was to comfort her, a son trying to do something small for his dying mother. He talked about planting trees with her when he was little, a memory of a life before the darkness took over. I can't help but wonder if I'm wrong about him. Is there a part of him that isn't just a monster? Even if he's the villain, maybe he doesn't think about murder every second of the day. Suddenly, a strange sound interrupts my thoughts. A chime, like a bell from another world. A lucky bag system? A gacha mechanic in the middle of a horror game? This world is truly bizarre. It promises everything from ordinary items to top-tier hero gear. It's the ultimate gamble. I shouldn't be interested, but the temptation is there. One good item could change everything. Every game has a random draw system. It's the scale of greed versus reason, and greed is winning. A free draw once a day for 3 days? It feels like a trap, but I can't look away. I see the possibilities. A powerful sword, or even a pillow that grants a heavenly sleep. I need that sleep. I decide to go for it. It's free, after all. What's the worst that could happen? The machine rattles and shakes, light pouring out as the internal gears begin to turn. The light is blinding. I shield my eyes, my heart pounding with the hope of a miracle.
something flies out of the machine, glowing with a brilliant golden radiance. It's beautiful. That shine, that glow. Could it be a legendary item? I think of all the hardships I've endured, being hit with weeds, living in constant fear, the nights spent shaking, wondering if Adrian would end me before I could even blink. Is this the moment my luck finally changes? Is this my reward for surviving this nightmare? I reach out, my eyes filling with tears of relief. Finally, something is going my way. I can feel the power radiating from it. This has to be a hero item. It has to be. I hold it close to my heart, a treasure that promises a path to safety in this dark world. Then the window pops up. You've chosen weed? Wait, what? The feature of this item is uselessness? And I have to wait 3 days for another draw? The realization hits me like a physical blow. The game isn't just dangerous, it's cruel. I'm holding literal trash, a glowing, useless piece of grass that mocked my hopes. The frustration boils over. I want to scream, to tear this system apart piece by piece. This entire world is a joke, and I'm the punchline. I can't take this anymore. The stress is too much. I fall ill for 3 days, defeated not by a monster, but by a gotcha pull. In the silent corridors of the mansion, every footfall feels like a countdown. I'm moving toward a room I'd rather avoid, carrying more than just a tray of medicine. Each step up these stairs brings me closer to the man who might be my end. But in this game, knowledge is the only currency that buys a tomorrow. I take a deep breath, trying to steady the rattle of the cup. The shock of my previous encounter is starting to fade, replaced by a cold, calculating need to survive. I need to be certain. I pull up the interface one more time to review the mechanics of the skill I just unlocked, Visionary's Eye. It's a specialized tool for this twisted world. It doesn't read a person's soul directly, but it exposes the darkness clinging to the things they touch. If an item is safe, it remains clear, but if it's been used for malice or carries the weight of a sin, a red light will betray its history. It's my only way to spot a hidden blade before it finds my throat. With this, I won't be walking into Adrian's room blind anymore. If he has a murder weapon hidden in plain sight, I'll know. I have to stay on my guard. One slip, one missed detail, and I'm just another casualty in a story I didn't write. I reach the heavy wooden door and raise my hand. The sound of my own knocking seems to echo too loudly in the quiet hallway. I announce myself as the dutiful maid, the mask of Hilda firmly in place. "Young master, I've brought your medicine." I flinch as his voice comes through the door immediately. He knew I was there before I even knocked. The door creaks open. I step into the room, my eyes scanning the shadows, looking for any glow of red that might signal danger. I keep my head down, offering the standard greeting, but the air in the room feels different today. He's not alone. My heart stops when I hear a second voice, one that recognizes me with far too much familiarity. I look up, my pulse spiking in sudden panic. Standing near the bookshelves is a man I haven't met since arriving in this world, yet he looks at me like an old friend. It's Dr. Hubert. He smiles warmly as if we share a long history, while Adrian watches us both from his bed with that unreadable expression of his. The doctor asks how I've been. I'm paralyzed. I have no memories of this man, no script for this conversation. I stammer through a greeting, my mind racing. Who is he to the original Hilda? How much of her life am I expected to know? He laughs, telling me I haven't changed a bit. It's a terrifying compliment when you're an imposter living in a dead girl's shoes. He apologizes for not visiting sooner, thanking me for taking care of the young master in his absence. He speaks with the authority of someone who has watched us both grow up. I focus on the tray, hoping the steam from the medicine hides the fear in my eyes. I just need to get through this without revealing I'm a stranger. Hubert praises my growth, but there's a glint of mischief in his eyes that makes me incredibly uneasy. He reaches out and pats my head, a gesture of affection that feels utterly alien to me. I force a polite, awkward smile. Then he drops a social landmine. He starts reminiscing about the tantrums I used to throw as a child, claiming I was going to marry the young master because he was so handsome. I can practically feel the blood draining from my face. Adrian is sitting right there, listening to every humiliating word of the supposed childhood crush. The doctor doesn't stop. He brings up the time I insisted on sleeping in the same bed as Adrian, shouting that I just wanted to hold his hand. I want the floor to open up and swallow me whole. I steal a glance at Adrian. He's smiling, but it's that sharp, predatory smile that tells me he's enjoying my suffering far too much. I let out a silent internal scream. The doctor's stories are painting me as a lovesick girl, which is the last thing I want to be in the eyes of a potential serial killer. I have to end this. I have to change the subject before the doctor reveals any more charming anecdotes from a past I don't remember. I fidget with the items on the tray, my hands trembling. This is the moment. I have to give him back the weapon I stole. I reach into my apron and pull out the garden scissors, placing them on the bedside table with a dull clatter, the very tool used to end a life in the original story. Adrian looks down at the scissors, his eyes narrowing slightly. The playful atmosphere the doctor created vanishes in an instant. He asks why I'm returning them now. He sounds surprised, but there's a dangerous edge to his voice that tells me he knows exactly why I had them. He tells me not to be coy. He saw me hiding them. He knew I was planning to bury them far away where they couldn't be used as evidence. He picks them up, the cold steel reflecting the light. He's cornering me, using the doctor's presence as a shield while he toys with me psychologically. He leans in, asking what it is about him that makes me so afraid. It's a direct challenge. He knows I've seen behind his mask. I can't answer. I just stand there, watching his hands. He says there are many ways of finding things out, a subtle threat that I'm being watched at all times. Then, as quickly as the tension rose, he breaks it. He turns his gaze toward Dr. Hubert, dismissing me without a second thought. The doctor, oblivious to the life and death struggle that just occurred, smiles back. He's just happy to see his patient looking better. Adrian suggests they take a walk in the garden. He has something he wants to discuss with the doctor in private. I offer to help him get ready, desperate to be useful and hide my growing dread. The doctor agrees, thinking it's a wonderful idea for his health. As Adrian moves to get out of bed, he thanks me. It's a polite, hollow word that feels like a weight on my chest. He stops for a moment, looking back at me as if he's forgotten one last detail of our little game. He mentions the doctor's story again. He says that if we were to hold hands now, it wouldn't be as innocent as it was when we were children. I'm stunned. He's using the doctor's words to mock me, to remind me of the power dynamic between us. He says it wouldn't be proper for others to see. He's creating a shared secret, a false intimacy that only serves to make me more vulnerable. He smiles gently, telling me he trusts that I'll understand what he means. It's a warning wrapped in a compliment. He owns my silence. I stand there, my mind blank, as they leave the room. The door closes behind them, leaving me alone in the silence of his secrets. The moment I'm alone, the heat rushes to my face. The embarrassment and the fear collide, leaving me shaking with a mix of fury and terror. That shameless jerk! How dare he use my past to tease me? He knows I'm trapped here, and he's enjoying every second of my discomfort. I collapse onto the floor, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps. He's a monster, a serial killer, and I'm letting him get under my skin. I think back to that moment in the darkness, when he held my face and looked at me with those cold blue eyes. He was the same then as he is now. He gets close, he whispers, and he keeps his secrets buried deep. He's playing a role for the world, but I'm the only one who knows the truth. I see his face in my mind, illuminated by the sun, looking like the perfect, tragic hero of a romance novel. It's a lie. It's all a lie. I have to calm down. I have to remember that the person who loved him was the original Hilda, not me. I am a player in a survival game, nothing more. But his smile, it's so convincing. If I didn't know better, I might have fallen for it too. That's the most dangerous part of his trap. I stand up, smoothing my apron. I can't let him win. I have a job to do, and I have a skill that can help me do it. Visionary's eye is activated. I need to see the world for what it really is, not the beautiful facade they've built around it. I walk out into the garden, the bright sunlight and the blooming flowers feeling like a mockery of the darkness hidden within the mansion walls. The atmosphere of the estate has changed. It's become lively, vibrant, almost as if it's celebrating the return of its master's health. In the distance, I see them. Adrian is crouching among the roses, looking every bit the gentle aristocrat the doctor believes him to be. He thanks the doctor for his treatments, claiming his legs are finally strong enough to walk on his own. He's regaining his strength. He reaches out and grabs a rose, his hand steady. The sickly boy I first met is disappearing, replaced by something far more capable and dangerous.
My vision shifts. Through the visionary's eye, the beauty of the scene starts to distort. The hidden intents are there if I look hard enough. The doctor calls out to him, concerned that he's getting lost in his thoughts. He still sees a patient where I see a predator. Adrian apologizes, his voice smooth and calm. He's perfectly in control of his image, even now. But then he mentions that there's one more thing he needs, a final request for the doctor that feels like the beginning of a new nightmare. I watch from the shadows, the red light of my skill flickering at the edges of my vision. Whatever he's about to ask for, it isn't for the sake of his health. The true game is just beginning. In the sprawling silence of the estate, questions about Hilda are beginning to take root. Even the most observant can feel it, a subtle shift in the air whenever she passes. Adrian sits amidst the roses, listening as his longest companion tries to dismiss the obvious. But a change in spirit is harder to hide than a change in routine. He considers the possibility that he's simply mistaken, conditioned by a life where reality is often twisted by the whims of others. It's a cycle he knows all too well. The sudden bursts of madness, the shadows that creep through the hallways, his mother's hysteria has returned to haunt the garden. Dr. Hubert watches with a practiced, clinical gaze. He speaks of hallucinations and the recurring darkness that plagues the Countess while he was away. The flowers here are fed by secrets. Hubert reminisces about the woman the Countess used to be, pious, charitable, and deeply devoted to her only child. How tragic, he muses, for such a gentle soul to be blinded by superstition, to look at her own flesh and blood and see only a demon. Adrian's eyes reflect a hollow depth. He has grown up under the weight of that label, a child marked by his own mother as something unholy. He lets the words wash over him, the memory of her tearing his room apart still fresh. She screams for the return of a son she believes was stolen by the devil. There is a terrifying power in words. If a lie is whispered often enough, it begins to take the shape of truth, carving out a home in the mind. Hubert stands tall, a pillar of logic in a house of ghosts. He offers comfort, insisting that no one truly believes the Countess's frantic accusations. But the future is a murky pool. Adrian looks up at the doctor, seeking the one thing he's never been sure of, the truth of his own nature. He asks the question that has defined his existence. Does he truly look like the monster his mother fears?
Hubert's expression is unreadable, his mind far more focused on the mechanics of the world than the myths of the church. He scoffs at the idea of holy water and divine intervention. To a man of science, everything has a physical cause, a logical explanation. If holy water burns the skin of a supposed devil, Hubert doesn't see a miracle. He sees a chemical reaction, a trick played by those who hide behind faith. He rejects the myths of judges in the sky. To him, the world is a puzzle to be solved through observation and cold, hard facts. Truth isn't found in a prayer book, it's buried deep within the flesh, waiting for a sharp enough mind to dig it out. This is the attitude of a scholar, a man who has dedicated his life to seeing beyond the veil of superstition. Despite his title as a physician, his curiosity goes much deeper than simple medicine. He views Adrian not as a curse, but as a masterpiece of biology. As they walk through the sun-drenched courtyard, the contrast between the beauty of the estate and the darkness of their conversation grows. Adrian finds it strange, the unwavering belief Hubert has in him. It's a loyalty that feels almost as heavy as his mother's hatred. He questions why the doctor is so certain he isn't the evil everyone claims him to be. Hubert reminds him of the unique treatment he's provided over the years, a regimen tailored specifically to Adrian's peculiar condition. The doctor has traveled the world, seeing every kind of ailment, but he found something truly special within these walls. At first, he thought it was a miracle, but his scientific mind eventually found the pattern behind the recovery. The truth is far more macabre. The medical center for the terminally ill wasn't built out of charity. It was built for survival. Every time a soul departs the estate, Adrian's own vitality seems to surge, his sickness receding like a tide. Hubert watches the boy bloom with health, knowing exactly what price was paid for that color in his cheeks. They chose logic over fear. Instead of cowering from accusations of the devil, they embraced the scientific reality of Adrian's existence. The doctor remembers the early days, the desperate measures taken to stabilize a dying child. He saw the seizure stop, the fever break, and he knew he had found a way to cheat death itself. He made a vow then to protect the young master until he claimed his rightful place, no matter the cost to his own soul. Adrian offers his thanks, unaware of the full depth of the doctor's obsession. For Hubert, this is more than duty. It is the fulfillment of a lifelong ambition to master the forces of life and death. But there is a new concern on the horizon. Someone on borrowed time is expected to arrive soon, a new treatment for the young master. With the increase in homicides in the village, the royal inspectors are beginning to sniff around the edges of the estate. Adrian worries about the risk of being caught, but Hubert remains as calm as a frozen lake. He assures the boy that as long as they use his glove, his method of concealment, no evidence will ever be found. Adrian accepts this dark pact, looking forward to the next infusion of life that will keep his own heart beating. As the sun sets, painting the sky in blood-orange hues, the shadows of the estate grow long and hungry. They reach the safety of the indoors, the heavy doors closing on the secrets left in the garden. Hubert bids him goodnight, noting how much better he looks. He is always on call, a guardian standing watch over his most precious experiment. The doctor's smile is kind, yet his eyes remain as sharp and cold as a scalpel. Before he leaves, he touches on the subject of Hilda again, his tone dismissive and light. He laughs off the tension, attributing the friction to the natural maturation of a young man and his maid. Hilda knows her place, he insists. She wouldn't dare overstep the boundaries of her station.
The door clicks shut, leaving Adrian alone with the silence of his room and the weight of his thoughts. He moves through the space, his mind fixated on the girl who seems to be playing a game he doesn't yet understand. He stands in the dim light, wondering if Hubert is right, or if there's something far more dangerous lurking behind Hilda's eyes. There is a strange magnetism to her, a defiance that shouldn't exist in a mere servant. Hubert is a good pawn, loyal and effective, but even he might be missing the true nature of the threat. Adrian wonders just how long he can use the doctor before the man's own ambitions become a liability. He reaches into his pocket, his fingers brushing against something small and cold. He falls back onto his bed, staring up at the canopy as the pieces of the day begin to fall into place. He pulls out a simple pencil, a piece of lead shoved into a stick. It's crude, mundane, and entirely fascinating, just like Hilda. She is a common thing in an uncommon world, yet he cannot stop his eyes from following her. He remembers her reaction to the garden scissors, the way her face went pale. She is immune to his hypnosis, a variable he never expected. He tries to convince himself it's just groundless suspicion, that there's no real reason to worry about a simple maid. But then he notices it. The items he carefully curated, the evidence of his own meticulous nature, are gone. His eyes snap open, the realization hitting him like a physical blow. The gloves, the pen, the history book, all missing. It's as if someone is purposefully erasing the trail he left behind, cleaning up the intent before it can be discovered. And that person is Hilda.
Adrian lies there with a gaze that feels far too heavy for a simple afternoon rest. The air in the room has shifted, becoming thick with the realization that the items he values most have vanished. The room looks orderly at first glance, but for a maid whose life depends on every detail, the gaps on the shelves are screaming. Books are scattered, and the tools of his trade are missing. In this horror game world, every object has a purpose, and losing them means losing control. I find myself sitting amidst the chaos of his private quarters, my heart hammering against my ribs. This wasn't supposed to be part of the routine. The very atmosphere of the room feels stained, as if the evil Adrian harbors has seeped into the floorboards themselves. Then my eyes catch something that makes my blood run cold. It's a detail the system shouldn't have let me see so easily. Special gloves, an ancient magical object with a singular, terrifying rule. They are designed to leave no trace of their use. No fingerprints, no magical residue, nothing. If these gloves leave no trace, then the stories of the untraceable murders in this kingdom suddenly have a very clear, very present source. I'm holding the evidence of a serial killer. If Adrian uses these to kill, the world remains blind to his crimes. The system confirms my fears. Serial murders with no captured suspect and no clear motive. If Adrian is the killer, I am currently cleaning the room of a monster. Suddenly, a voice shatters the silence, calling my name. I nearly jump out of my skin, clutching the gloves to my chest. It's the head maid. I'm late for window cleaning duty, and if I'm caught in here with these items, my life is forfeit before the sun even sets. I have to move. I have to hide these. My role as a player is to survive, and survival means keeping these tools out of his hands. My mind is racing. If I take the murder weapons, I increase my odds of survival, but I also paint a massive target on my back. I tell myself it's a strategy. Stealing the killer's tools is the only way to break the script of this horror game, even if he notices the theft immediately. The day drags on in a blur of anxiety. Every shadow looks like a hand reaching for me, every sound a footstep coming to claim what I took. As night falls, the moon hangs low and sharp over the estate. The darkness usually offers cover, but tonight it feels like a trap. The spires of the castle glow with a cold, ghostly light. The social hierarchy of this world is absolute, and I am just a maid who has crossed a line. He summons me. Adrian stands by the window, his silhouette cutting through the dim light. He doesn't need to see my face to know I'm trembling. I didn't expect the confrontation to happen this quickly. My heart is a frantic bird trapped in my chest. He speaks with a chilling politeness, apologizing for the late hour, but his words carry the weight of a death sentence. His hand rests on the windowsill, pale and steady. He mentions that a few of his belongings have disappeared. They weren't much, he says, but they were important. I try to play the part of the confused servant, but my voice betrays me. I ask why I was called for such a trivial matter. Adrian turns, and the mask of the young master slips. He isn't asking me a question, he's making a demand. Bring them back. The command is simple, absolute, and terrifying. He knows exactly who took them. The one who took my things, he says, is you, Hilda. He claims he doesn't want to raise his hand against me, but the threat is vibrating in the air. I look at him, realizing the gravity of my situation. In this world, a maid is nothing. A maid who steals from a devil is less than nothing. He tells me not to test his patience. The blue glow in his eyes isn't just a design choice, it's the mark of a monster losing his grip on his humanity. I'm panicking internally. If I die in this blasted game, what happens to me? Do I wake up? Or is this the end of my existence? I realize I can't win a physical fight. This game is too elaborate, and the power dynamic is skewed too far in his favor. But wait, even if he is the devil, he's still a part of the system, and as a player, I have one advantage he doesn't.
I can see the interface. I can see the rules. I can see the exit. I take a breath and decide to speak frankly. If I'm going to die, I might as well go out swinging at the logic of this world. He looks confused for a moment, his predatory focus wavering as I stop acting like a terrified victim. I ask him for proof. If he wants to punish me, he needs evidence, or he risks staining the reputation of his noble house. Adrian stares at me as if I've suddenly started speaking a foreign language. He tells me he doesn't need evidence to question a servant. I stand my ground, clutching my apron. I tell him that if I were to steal, I wouldn't be so obvious about it. I'm one of the few with access to his room, after all. I try to sound considerate, suggesting we can just ignore this happened and move on. It's a desperate bluff, a reach for peace in a room filled with malice. He asks me what I just said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. The social twist here is that he's not used to being talked back to. The tension is at a breaking point. I know there is no chance of me winning a verbal or physical battle with this man, but I have one last card to play, a move that breaks the fourth wall of this nightmare. I look him dead in the eye and call him exactly what he is, a demonic bastard, a lump of evil. I reach out into the empty air, my finger finding the invisible prompt that only I can see. His eyes widen. For the first time, he looks genuinely unsettled, sensing a power that he can't categorize. I'm not just a maid anymore. I am a player trying to force a system override. If I can't leave this room alive, I'll force the game to restart. I'll rewind the clock and make him forget everything. He sneers at my garbage consideration. He doesn't care about evidence or reputation anymore. He just wants his tools back.
He tells me to do whatever I want, to search every corner of his room, but it won't change the outcome. His hand is steady as he reaches for me, the darkness of the room closing in. I smile, a manic edge to my voice as I call him a satanic bastard one last time, my finger hovering over the restart button. Adrian looks shocked, perhaps realizing for the first time that his prey has a weapon he doesn't understand. I press it. New game. Exit. Anything to escape this cycle of terror. But the system responds with a cold, digital finality. You cannot start a new game when a story is in progress. I am trapped in the narrative, and the killer is right in front of me. In a world governed by hidden rules and digital interfaces, a single mistake can be your last. I thought I could outsmart the system,
but I just let the most dangerous words possible slip through my teeth. I called him a satanic bastard. To his face. The words are hanging in the air, cold and irreversible, as I realize I've just insulted the very man who holds my life in his hands. Adrian stands there, silent, his expression unreadable. In this horror game, silence is never just peace. It's the gathering of a storm. Every second of his silence feels like an eternity. I can practically hear the clock ticking toward my inevitable game over. The realization hits me like a physical blow. I need to fix this, and I need to do it before he decides my head would look better on a spike. Suddenly, the system chimes. Adrian's interest has increased by 10 points. It's a strange world rule. Even hatred and shock count as engagement. His gaze is fixed on me, sharp and piercing. He's not just looking at a maid anymore. He's looking at a puzzle that just spoke back. Those blue eyes are mesmerizing, but they're also terrifying. There's a flicker of something new there, something that wasn't in the script. I have to scramble for an explanation. Anything. I blurt out the first lie I can find. Narcolepsy. I tell him I have a condition. I claim that my condition makes me say horrible things in my sleep. It's a pathetic excuse, but it's the only shield I have against his growing suspicion. I try to act flustered, playing the role of the confused, sickly maid. If I can just convince him I wasn't in control of my tongue, I might survive the night. Adrian repeats my words back to me, his voice dripping with skepticism. He asks if narcolepsy is really the reason I called him a bastard. I double down, acting out a theatrical display of self-punishment. I tell him I'll punish my rude mouth immediately, hoping the performance masks my sheer terror. I keep babbling about my supposed symptoms, citing other maids as witnesses. I'm building a house of cards out of lies, praying the wind doesn't blow. The moon hangs high outside, a silent witness to my desperation. In this game, the night is when the true monsters come out to play. Adrian isn't moving. He tells me that I remember everything I said far too clearly for someone who was supposedly asleep. He sees right through me. He notes that my lies are actually improving, which is the most terrifying compliment I've ever received. A sharp ding echoes in my mind. The system is reacting to his mood, and the sound is never a good sign. A warning box pops up. Adrian has started to suspect me. The mission is clear. Convince him to decrease his murderous intent. I can't believe the UI is giving me a life-or-death ultimatum right now. This game really doesn't give you a moment to breathe. The warning turns red, flashing with a grim reminder. If I fail to change his mind, I will die. The social consequences of my insult are turning lethal. I stand frozen as he begins to walk toward me. He asks if I have nothing else to say, his footsteps heavy against the wooden floor. His face is a mask of cold curiosity. He's closing the distance, and the air in the room feels like it's being sucked out. My heart is thumping so loudly I'm sure he can hear it. The psychological pressure of this encounter is reaching a breaking point. He stops just inches away. He tells me that the more he sees me, the more he's convinced I know secrets I shouldn't. Every step he takes is a threat. I can feel the weight of his presence, a predator weighing whether his prey is worth the effort. I start to cower, my hands trembling as I try to pivot to another lie. I claim I heard the term Satan from the Countess and was just repeating it. The meter pops up again. Murderous intent is rising. It's at 67%. My excuses are only making things worse. I pivot to flattery, telling him I must have said it while praising his good looks. I'm throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. The intent hits 80%. My heart sinks. Flattery isn't working. It's just insulting his intelligence further. I keep rambling, talking about how handsome he is, how he could hypnotize anyone. I'm basically begging for my life with a smile on my face. He looms over me, a shadow that blocks out the rest of the room. The distance between us has vanished entirely. He leans in close, his voice a low, dangerous whisper. He asks why I'm looking at him like that, warning me that I have no idea what he's capable of. He reaches out, his hand moving toward my face. He asks if he should cover my eyes. The threat is intimate and absolute. The murderous intent spikes to 91%. The screen is flashing red. This is it. I'm seconds away from a violent end. I have to do something radical, something the game's AI wouldn't expect from a terrified maid. I have to break the script. No more excuses, no more lies. I need to change the emotional frequency of this room before he closes his hand. There is one thing I haven't tried, a desperate, crazy gamble that might just confuse the system enough to save me. I reach out and grab his clothes, my fingers clenching into the fabric. It's a bold, insane move. I can feel his breath on my skin as I pull myself toward him. Everything is riding on this single moment of physical contact. I shout that if he keeps doing this, I won't hold back either. It's a bluff, a sheer act of defiance in the face of death. The system pauses. For a second, the logic of the world seems to stutter. Adrian is genuinely speechless. He looks down at me, his eyes wide with shock. He's never been challenged like this, especially not from someone he was about to kill. I grab his wrists, pulling him closer. I tell him I won't back down. If I'm going to die, I'm going to go out fighting. He's so close now that I can see the confusion in his eyes. The predator is momentarily baffled by the prey's aggression. I take the final step, closing the distance between our bodies. I'm going for the one thing no one in this house would dare to do.
I throw my arms around him. A hug, the most human gesture in the middle of a horror game. He freezes. It's as if his entire internal processing has crashed. He doesn't know how to react to warmth. I press my head against his chest, feeling the solid reality of him. He's warm, like an actual person, not just a set of lines in code. And then I smell it. A scent that shouldn't be here. He smells like a garden. He smells like roses. Adrian is completely startled, his body tense, his eyes wide. The murderous intent is fluctuating, but he's not attacking. He tries to push me away, his voice cracking as he asks what I'm doing. The power dynamic has shifted in a way neither of us expected. In our struggle, we both lose our footing. The floor is slick and we're both off balance. We fall. The world spins as we crash down together, the library shelves blurring past us. We hit the floor with a heavy thud. I'm on top of him, breathless and shaking. I try to apologize, but the words catch in my throat. Suddenly, Adrian begins to cough. It's not just a small clearing of the throat, it's a violent, racking sound. I look at him in panic. His face is pale, and he's clutching his chest, struggling to find air. A new system window appears, flashing a critical update. Adrian's chronic illness, asthma, has been triggered by the stress and the fall. He's wheezing, his breaths coming in short, desperate rasps. The monster of the mansion is suddenly a vulnerable boy, and the rules of survival have just changed again. In this world, survival is a game of statistics, but right now, the numbers are spinning out of control. Adrian is gasping, caught in the grip of a chronic illness that the system just decided to trigger. A simple moment of proximity, a desperate attempt to stay alive, and now the young master is collapsing before my eyes. The system alerts me that his murderous intent is plummeting, dropping to 60% as he struggles to breathe. It falls even further, hitting 42%. My life is safe for the moment, but at what cost to him? I thought a hug would fluster him enough to stop his killing spree, but I didn't expect it to trigger a physical collapse. He's hacking, his body racking with a cough so violent it looks like it's tearing him apart from the inside. The tremors are getting worse, making him look more like a victim than a monster.
Even for a man as dangerous as Adrian, this is a pathetic, painful sight to witness. I can only watch in horror as my primary threat turns into someone I might actually have to save. The night ends in chaos, leaving the mansion's future hanging by a thread. Morning light filters into the room, but the atmosphere remains heavy with unspoken secrets. Adrian is back in bed, the storm of the previous night replaced by a chilling, quiet stillness. He looks weary, a pale shadow of the man who was ready to end me just hours ago. He admits he pushed me too far, a rare moment of vulnerability, or perhaps just another layer of his game. I play the role of the dutiful, terrified maid, hiding the fact that I was the one who stole his belongings.
He's sharp, though. He knows a maid shouldn't be touching her master's things, let alone hiding them. I offer a sincere apology, bowing low to maintain the facade of a servant who simply made a mistake. His eyes are piercing, searching for the truth behind my submissive act. I tell him I didn't want any of this to happen, hoping he'll buy the lie that I was just overwhelmed. The guilt I'm projecting is my only shield right now. If he sees through it, I'm dead. He watches me silently, letting the tension build until it's nearly suffocating. That gaze, it's like he's reading the very code of the world around us. To my shock, he says he understands. He promises not to pry any further into why I took those items. It seems like a victory, but with Adrian, mercy always comes with a hidden price. He has one condition. I have to put everything back exactly where I found it. My heart sinks. If I return the murder weapons, I'll be completely defenseless again. He tells me to put them back with a smile that doesn't reach his cold, calculating eyes. He won't listen to excuses. This is the only mercy I'm going to get, and he knows I know it. He even invites me to find him any time I'm curious, a terrifying offer from a man who sees me as a toy. He hands me a cloth, telling me I can go back to work, but my mind is racing for a way out. If I leave now, I lose my only leverage. I need to keep something, even if it's just the gloves. I beg him to let me keep them, claiming I want something to remember him by. He calls me shameless, but he's intrigued. The game is changing, and I have to lean into the absurdity. I twist the fabric in my hands, preparing to launch the most ridiculous lie of my life. I tell him I'm embarrassed, but that I can't leave empty-handed. I take a deep breath and tell him that I have a specific obsession. The silence in the room is deafening as he waits for me to finish my thought. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but it's the only way to explain why I'd want his dirty laundry. I claim that I'm obsessed with his body odor, that I lost my sanity because of his scent. I lean in and sniff the cloth, acting like I'm in a trance, desperate to sell the performance. I tell him the gloves are full of his scent, and that's why I need them so badly. I act like a total pervert, begging for the gloves just so I can keep smelling him. Adrian stares at me, completely baffled. For the first time, I've managed to catch him off guard. He actually believes it. He thinks I'm just a weirdo, which is a much safer label than rebel. He agrees to let me stay, but only as his sole attendee. I've successfully trapped myself in his inner circle. He asks if I want something else, and I realize I've opened a door I can't easily close. I tell him I'll accept any punishment later as long as I can keep my prize. I start listing off terrible chores I could do to repay my mistake, trying to look eager. Maybe I can clean the stables? The system even updates my potential job to stable hand. Or a window cleaner? Anything to prove my devotion and keep my cover intact. He tells me I'll start tomorrow. The deal is sealed, and my new life of double duty begins. He wants to keep this arrangement going until I resolve my feelings for him. He smiles, saying it'll be a pleasure to be in my care. It sounds more like a threat than a compliment. As I turn to leave, the door creaks, a reminder of the prison I've built for myself. Then he stops me. He tells me to take his bathrobe instead of the gloves.
Suddenly, a system notification pings. I've acquired a new title, The Devil's Diligent Pawn. He says the gloves are too important to him, but he'll give me this instead. Since I'm his main maid now, he's decided to indulge my fake fetish with something even more personal. Inside, I'm screaming. This wasn't the plan at all. I just wanted the weapons. The mansion looms over me, a beautiful cage that is slowly tightening its grip. I've officially evolved from an insignificant worker to the devil's own pawn. My survival just got a lot more complicated. Under the vast, bright sky of this world, the mansion stands as a monument of deceptive peace, hiding the dark mechanics of the horror game I'm trapped in. The morning sun spills through the windows, illuminating the ordinary objects of a life I'm desperately trying to make my own. A simple cup of tea sits on the table, its warmth a contrast to the cold calculation required to survive as a maid in this place. Young Master Adrian remains seated, seemingly preoccupied with his morning routine, while I stand nearby, always on edge. He handles the porcelain with a grace that feels almost too human, considering the dark entity he's supposed to be. He mumbles about the tea blend, wondering if more vanilla would have perfected the taste. It's jarring to see the literal devil of this world obsessing over something as mundane as ratios and flavors. Then he breaks a social rule of this mansion with a casual invitation. He tells me I can sit if I'm tired. I scramble to decline, my heart racing. Maids don't just sit with their masters here, not unless they want to trigger a fatal event. But he doesn't take no for an answer. I find myself sitting across from him, feeling my wages drain away with every second of this forced leisure. This new role as his personal maid has turned me into a target for the other servants. They see the privilege, but they don't see the terror. There is absolutely nothing to be jealous of. This isn't a fairy tale, it's a high-stakes survival mission. My day is a non-stop loop of bringing him medications and attending to his every whim. I follow him on long walks through the gardens, wondering when I'll finally be allowed to sleep. I have to smile and nod through his lectures about art and sponsorship, even when I'm dying of boredom. If these other maids were truly jealous, they would realize I'm just a pawn in a very dangerous game.
The game system officially labels me as the devil's pawn, tasked with various little chores that could end my life at any moment. I realize I've been staring at him too long when he leans in, asking why I'm so focused on his face. The silence between us stretches, heavy and uncomfortable, as I try to find a way to explain my distraction. He notices I've finally snapped out of it, though his expression remains unreadable. I quickly stammer out an excuse, claiming I haven't done enough work yet to justify resting. I pivot to a desperate lie, telling him I was simply dazed by his brilliant beauty. It's a classic survival tactic, flattery. He looks at me with those piercing eyes, unimpressed by my exaggerated infatuation. He reaches out, holding something small toward me. It's a pencil. I take it tentatively, confused by the sudden request. Wait, I recognize this. It's the cheap, ordinary pencil I gave him. Why is he still carrying this in his pocket? He tells me not to waste time and to sharpen it as sharp as possible. I'm surprised he even cared about such a small act of kindness. I ask if this is sharp enough, my hands trembling slightly as I offer it back. He gives a small nod of approval, thanking me in a way that feels almost sincere. Suddenly, a dark thought crosses my mind. Is he making me create a murder weapon for him? There's no other reason a young master of his status would keep such a cheap item unless it had a lethal purpose. I activate my visionary's eye, scanning for any hidden threats or intentions behind his request. He asks if I'm less tired now, pulling me back from my paranoid spiral.
He just sits there, looking at the sharpened pencil, and for once, there's no system reaction, no hidden agenda. I decide to look for more chores to do, hoping to keep my distance while my fatigue level is still manageable. He tells me to do whatever I want, as long as I'm not secretly stealing anything from the room. I scan the shelves, noticing how everything in this room is stained with a faint, ominous red aura. Nothing seems to be missing, but the atmosphere is thick with a sense of unease that I can't quite shake. Then, my eyes land on a potted plant. It's wilted, struggling for life in the corner of the room. Through my visionary's eye, the plant is overflowing with dark, swirling energy, evil intent manifested. Adrian mentions that Dr. Hubert dropped it off late last night. The plant is dying, and it's clear it wasn't a gift of goodwill. I wonder if Hubert is trying to poison the room's energy, or if the plant itself is a cursed object. He asks me what I'm looking at, his voice cutting through the thick tension in the room. I lie again, telling him I thought the plant was pretty and that it might brighten up this dull room. He looks at the dying leaves with a cold indifference, telling me he doesn't understand what I find pretty about it. His voice is filled with a quiet dread as he remarks that flowers simply die the moment they enter this room. I realize the plant probably just needs sunlight, a basic necessity that seems to be in short supply around Adrian. He closes his book and tells me not to waste my time. He's already given up on it.
He insists it's no use. No matter what I do, everything in his presence eventually wilts. I've learned something about him over these past few days. Despite his devilish reputation, he actually has a deep love for nature. But his human body is a prison. A single surprise can trigger an asthma attack that leaves him on the brink of death. He is a devil, powerful enough to command legions, yet he's trapped in a shell that can't even handle a walk in the garden. It must be an indescribable misery to be unable to enjoy the one thing you actually like. It's possible his murderous intent isn't just innate. It's born from this constant, agonizing frustration. If that misery has curdled into a hatred for the world, then every life around him is in danger. I look at the small, sharpened pencil again. He knows how to accept a gift, even a simple one, without suspicion. There might be something more to him than just a monster waiting to kill me. I decide, right then and there, I'm going to try and save this plant. He looks up, confused by my sudden declaration of responsibility. I tell him that as his personal maid, I'll take full responsibility for nursing this plant back to health. My resolve is firm. This isn't just about the plant, it's about changing the energy of this room. He lets out a long, weary sigh, as if my persistence is more than he can handle. He mumbles that he can't win against me and tells me to do as I please. I leave the room with the wilted plant in my hands, feeling the weight of the task ahead. If I can decrease his murderous intent by doing this, I'm also decreasing my own probability of a game over. Suddenly, the system pings. Adrian's interest level has increased by 10 points. It's at level 1 now, but it's moving. And I didn't even give him a physical gift this time. Is it possible his interest isn't tied to the things I give him, but to the effort and thought I put into his well-being? To be honest, I wasn't going to put in much effort, but if it keeps me alive, I have to take this seriously. I walk down the hall, the flowers along the way serving as a reminder of what life should look like. I'm going to save this plant for real. It's the first step in surviving this nightmare. Back in the room, Adrian sits in silence, perhaps contemplating the strange maid who insists on bringing life into his dark world. He mumbles to himself that he can't understand me, his gaze fixed on the bright world outside the window. But for the first time, there's a hint of something other than malice in his eyes as he watches the sunlight dance through the room.